I do apologise there. Lots of sound. I do apologise. We are with you live. We have been going for 11 minutes, and we've had no sound. I didn't realise the mic was turned on. I hope you can hear me now. We've had 5 minutes gone. Everton have threatened a few times, but we are now got the commentary back. And here's Richarlison now into Sigurdsson. I'll run through the teams in just a second as that ball deflects off Ben Mee for a corner. So I'll just give you the Everton side if you haven't had it already. Pickford, Coleman, Keane, Zuma, Dignan, Schneiderlin, Trezeguet, Richarlison, Sigurdsson, Bernard, Calvert-Lewin. On the bench for the Toffees, Stecklenburg, Baines, Jagielka, Walcott, Tozan, Davis and Luckman. Burnley team quickly, 2 changes. Heaton, Tarkowski, Lowton, Mee, Taylor, Gunmanson, Westwood, Cork, Brady, Barnes and Wood. We'll run through the Burnley bench in just a second because Sigurdsson is about to take a corner from the near side. I do apologise, folks. We've had sound issues again. The mic wasn't working properly, but we are back live with you now. Here's Trezeguet, turns in on the edge of the area. Trezeguet shoots and it deflects away off a couple of Burnley defenders and hooked away. I'll give you the two. Everton playing in blue today and Burnley playing in that horrendous whole dark strip. I was a bit surprised they didn't actually go and play with Clarets in claret and blue tonight, but there we go. Just to remind you of the Burnley bench while Zuma just dawdles about in possession a little bit. Joe Hart, the goalkeeper. Jeff Henrick, Gibson, Crouch, Vidra, Long and McNeil. And the referee tonight comes from Manchester. That's Chris Kavanagh. Meanwhile, Everton go down the near side with Seamus Coleman, who's their captain. He wanted a 3 kick. We've had 6.5 minutes gone here at Goodison and it's still 0-0. I do apologise for not having any sound at that particular moment, but we are live with you now. I did about 4 minutes commentary and not realised that I turned the mic off. But there you go. I thought the mic was on, but it wasn't. And thank you to Russ. And I have to say, I just want to say thank you very much to Russ as well for last night. I had a lot of trolls for the first time in my life, trying to mock me and do me personally. I just want to say thanks to Russ for helping me through the criticism, and Chris as well, both saying exactly the same thing. Everton have just got a free kick foul there by Chris Wood. And it wasn't very nice, the things that they were saying. I'd commented about Lionel Messi on Facebook the other day, saying that half the goals he got were against inferior Spanish opposition, which is actually quite true. Some of the Lionel Messi or Barcelona fans didn't like that and decided it would be a good time to troll me, and it wasn't very nice, but as a result I'm off match of the day. Why should I entertain them? But that's practically the reason why, and really I'm not going to let a few trolls spoil my enjoyment of the game or commentary on it. So the JB Claret YouTube commentaries are here to stay. After a long night thinking about it, we are back commentating on it. Just been looking at back to the game. Thank you very much to Russ and to Chris. We've had 8 minutes, and already Burnley have had just 11% possession, and Everton have had a whopping 89% possession, which sounds about right, to be honest with you. The Clarets that tend to play at the moment. Meanwhile, Charlie Taylor's gone down in a heap down below me on the near side. The sun is just setting behind the Gladys Street end here at Goodison Park, one of football's fantastic old grounds, a traditional football ground that Everton are planning to move to a new stadium in 2 or 3 years from now. And as Jordan Pickford plays chicken with Chris Wood but gets away with it. 8.5 minutes gone. Everton 0, Burnley 0 in the Premier League. The Clarets game live. We're a little bit late starting with the loss of sound, but we are live with you now, and if you can pick us up loud and clear, that's fantastic. And don't forget, you can comment on tonight's action in the comment section. We'll have a live Premier League offering for you tomorrow night on the penultimate weekend of the season, and we'll let you know what game that is for the JB Claret Facebook page, which you can find at www.facebook.com/JB Claret YouTube channel. And of course, if you're a Claret, there's also a new Facebook page on, may I point out, that is all Burnley related, and that's JB's News, Burnley News, JB Claret's News, Views and whatever it was, I've forgotten what it's called, but check it out. Another one of my pages. I know Russ is a member of it, that is for sure, but I can't remember the name offhand. But anyway, I'll give you the exact title, and of course round us about the 60th minute mark, JB man of the match will be operating. Here's Richarlison, the Brazilian, trying an audacious left-footed shot from just to the edge of the Burnley D from about 20 yards, which sails into the Gladys Street, sails over the bar into the Gladys Street end, away to my right, and a goal kick for Burnley, which they'll be pretty chuffed about, really, the Clarets. If they start restricting Richarlison to opportunities like that, then Burnley will have done well. Done well so far defensively anyway. 10 minutes gone, still goalless. And so far it's been really tough going. With 17 minutes, with 10 minutes of the game gone, it's been really tough as Tarkowski nods the ball back to Tom Heaton. And he did really well there to get the ball there, Tom. He's in a whole yellow goalkeeper's jersey today. He's in a whole yellow goalkeeper's jersey today. I do apologise there if you heard me twice. I'm just checking that the sound was working properly, and that was the reason why you probably heard me a couple of times. So I do apologise. It's just basically just to check everything is okay now with sound and everything like that, and obviously live prop. Glad the two changes, not surprised about. McNeil has had a fantastic second half of the season, but could do with a rest. Henrik was probably found wanted a little bit on Sunday, really. Couldn't get into the game, but I think we've got genuine width there on the right now with Gudmundsson, who's now fit again, and Robbie Brady, who missed out purely and simply because of the birth of his newborn, as the ball is not forward towards Ashley Barnes. Was it Chris Wood or Ashley Barnes? It certainly wasn't Ashley Barnes. This is Barnes now on the ball, into Brady. Burnley now just starting to have a little bit of the play a little bit as they try to thread the ball through Ashley Barnes, but he hits the former Burnley man Keane and falls kindly for Jordan Pickford, who's currently England's number one, but the performances he's been showing for Everton this season would not reflect that at the moment. He has had a disappointing season by his own high standards, Pickford. At the other end, Tom Heaton, I think since coming into the team again, has really shone again. And a lot of not just Claret supporters, but some genuine football fans are calling for him to be the England number one, certainly going into the Nations Cup semi-final, which takes place next month. Handball there against Michael Keane. Free kick to Burnley, 10 yards inside their own half, just inside the centre circle, or maybe just a tad outside it, just a yard inside the centre circle, but it's certainly about a good 10 yards from the halfway line. And Tom Heaton's been summoned up to take the free kick, or he's been urged forward to take it. Meanwhile, Sean Dyche is having a conversation or two with the fourth official there, which I assume could be either Roger East or Anthony Taylor. I can't see. It's definitely one of those two. Looks as if it could well be Anthony Taylor. Anyway, the free kick is wadded in towards the edge of the penalty area of Everton, and now the ball breaks to the left hand side for Burnley. Charlie Taylor now has the ball. Infield to Cork. Cork across towards Westwood. Westwood hitting a lovely ball towards Gudmundsson, but he was well cut out there, and now Everton are starting to move again, and this could be trouble now as Drissegay makes a good run, turns Ben Mee inside and out, and then tries to play the ball in towards Gylfi Sigurdsson, and in the end Matt Lowton came back, pinched the ball and has collided, I think, with the advertising boards behind Tom Heaton's goal, and I think he hasn't managed to prevent the corner, but a nice lightning quick counter-attack by Everton down the left-hand channel. Drissegay playing the ball in, brought kindly to Sigurdsson, a little deflection. Lowton came back and couldn't quite prevent the corner. Everton have had 5 shots attempts in the first 10 minutes of a game. That's the first time they've done that since October 2016 against Burnley, but they went on to lose that match by 2-1 as the corner comes in from the far side up towards Keane, but he couldn't get a positive touch. Now the ball's back 15 yards inside Everton's half with Seamus Coleman. Hits a long 50-yard ball, attempted to find Luca Digne over on the left-hand channel, but it went out of play, and it's gone into the main stand, and a Burnley throw in about 10 yards further on from the edge of their own penalty area. towards the centre circle. An interesting quarter of an hour being played here at Goodison. Penultimate probably could well be the final Clarets game of the season. We don't know yet. We'll certainly keep you posted on Arsenal. I was speaking to Chris Whiteman, and he has been rather busy. That's why you've not heard him on the channel for a long time. He's been busy with college and doing other things as well. So, but we hope to get him back for the running at the end of the season, the cup finals and stuff. We've got 2 big cup finals coming up this month. Well, we've certainly got the FA Cup final. Then on the 1st of June we'll have the European Cup final, regardless of the 2 teams involved. Still could be a Spurs-Liverpool final, but that's looking highly unlikely thanks to Barcelona's win over them 3-0, but they haven't faced Anfield yet. Meanwhile, back in this game, Chris Wood has been tagged offside from a free kick taken from the right hand side, and well, I'm not sure whether he was offside, to be quite honest with you. Linesman took at least 5 to 6 seconds to put his flag up. There were 1 or 2 questions asked by Wood. Anyway, it doesn't come to anything much, and the ball's now back at the other end from Tom Heaton, who sort of shins that a little bit, and he just about gets into the Everton half, and Burnley actually win possession. Now, there might be advised here to have a little bit of a spell of the ball. They won the corresponding fixture 1-0 with a sumptuous goal that was finished off superbly by Jeff Hendrick after a 24 pass move, which they didn't really get the credit for, really, the Clarets, because a lot of the popular press always talk about their fluent, their very dynamic Route 1 style of play. Anyway, here's Calvert-Lewin now on the ball for Everton, just cutting in from the right hand side. Problems here. Oh, good shot, it's into the right hand corner. A brilliant goal from Richarlison. You've got to say the Clarets are behind, but Everton have been probably the better side in this opening quarter of an hour and have scored a sumptuous goal, it's got to be said, by Richarlison. 1-0 to the Toffees. Nothing Tom Heaton could do, diving away to his left hand side. Not really great defending, really, by the Clarets in some respects, because they allowed Calvert-Lewin a lot of wall space and they didn't close Richarlison down. Maybe Ben Mee could have tried to block it, and well, really, that was poor, really. And into the right hand corner it goes, and Everton, I think, probably just about, well, it takes a deflection, in fact, off Ben Mee. Maybe he should have just left it to his goalkeeper. And Ben Mee is the sort of defender that will throw his body in the way, but sometimes it will cost Burnley. And that's what Tom Heaton thought about it. Leave it alone, he's saying. That's poor from Ben Mee, I've got to be honest. We praised him at the start of the night for what he did against Manchester City, but I'm afraid he's cost Burnley a goal there. Great goal from Richarlison, but Ben Mee should have mined out the way. And just to remind you, do not in any circumstances, you will be taken off. Cross, if you wouldn't mind, take him off the stream. He's putting links to the game and trying to take listeners' offers. So for us or Panini or whoever's moderating, please take him off and take the comments down too, because we don't need that. It's not why we have the comment section open for business. There are 5 moderators on this stream at any one time, and at least 2 of them to a stream. And you will be reported as Abdi. So you've been reported now, and you will not be appearing on this channel ever again. Right, and brave. Everton 1, Burnley 0. Not a great start for the Clarets. They have been on the back foot, but to be honest with you, the job has been done in respects, because they've got the magical 40 points they needed, and as long as they don't lose, I mean, they're still in the game. Quite honestly, it was a great strike from Richarlison. Russ does agree. It was a very good goal. But Ben Mee, he just needed to leave it. Why does he feel the need to try and book everything? He's not made a kryptonite. But we won't be too critical, because Burnley have done what they've needed to do this season, and thank God that we don't have the noose of European football next season. Anyway, Richarlison on the right hand side, Seamus Coleman on the overlap, then the ball back into towards Sigurdsson. Sigurdsson crosses into the Burnley penalty area. The ball breaks loose inside the area, And now a chance here for Everton here to hook the ball into the penalty area once again. Calvert-Lewin trying to turn away. Ben Mee's got to be careful. Can't afford to pull him down. And then the shot. Oh, and a save there, and a free header for Seamus Coleman. And the goal, I think, is stood. And the goal was stood, and there was suspicions there that Coleman was about a yard offside. Certainly looked that way from the first angle, and controversy here at Goodison Park. Should that goal have been allowed? Was Coleman offside as the ball was hit from the first effort here? Well, there will be question marks, that's for sure. Calvert-Lewin's shot was blocked. It came out again, and in fact, Richarlison was... Oh, wow. Richarlison looked offside. Seamus Coleman certainly wasn't. There will be question marks asked. It was Digne's initial shot. Tom Eaton could only parry it, and Coleman are the easiest of finishes, but Burnley will feel a little bit frustrated that the offside flag did not go up against Richarlison. It is a grey area, this offside trap. Coleman finished it as he would have liked. He did check with the linesman, so that did arouse a little bit of suspicion. But the goal stands, and that's only his second goal, and really Burnley have fallen apart at the seams. It's almost like what happened at the Emirates last season. They're just not started well enough. The pressure's off them, but go and have a go. They haven't had a go at all. And that is for the frustration. Absolutely ridiculous start from the Clarets. Two poor goals really from their point of view to concede. And that strong jaw that's been in evidence for the last few games is evidently not here tonight. Whether that second goal should have counted or not is totally irrelevant, but the bottom line is Burnley have not started well at all. And certainly when you get players like Richarlison and Sigurdsson on great form, it's very difficult. Meanwhile, Wood at the other end trying to lay it in towards Goodmanson. The ball out of play midway inside the Everton half for a Burnley throw-in, and well, Russ reckons it could have been disallowed. Certainly a mistake for Ben Mee on the first one. Should have left it to his goalkeeper. He tried to block it and tried to be too stupid really to try and block it. I've got nothing against players pointing their body on the line, but I honestly think that's going wide, and Ben Mee should leave that alone. Why does he feel the need to do that? Stupid, brainless defending, and I've said this more than one occasion, certainly during the first half of the season. Ben Mee, that is poor. That is absolutely poor. Let's make no mistake about it. But Everton 2-0 up, and when you look at the statistics and you look at the balance of play, I don't think there's any arguments with the scoreline. Whether or not the goal would have been chalked off or not for VAR, that's a matter for a debate for another time. But at the moment, Burnley need to start getting out of bottom gear and getting in through the gears and start actually playing and start showing some determination. Otherwise, this could end up being a cricket score. It's almost as if they've jacked it in and have actually gone onto the beach, onto the deck chairs, and it's almost like Arsenal last season. They'd done all the hard work and then went away to the Emirates and got absolutely slaughtered 5-0. If it wasn't for Nick Pope that afternoon, it could have been 10-0. And it's been a disgraceful start from Burnley in this opening period of the first half, which we're now halfway through, incidentally. 23 gone. Everton two goals clear. Richarlison and Coleman the goal scorers. And, well, that's absolutely... Yeah, I would concur with that, Russ, to be quite honest with you. Everton have had 10 shots. 3 on target, 2 have gone in. Burnley have offered absolutely nothing so far, which is a complete disappointment because you think with the pressure off they could go out there, have a go, keep going with that strong jaw and really allow themselves an opportunity to play without fear. But unfortunately they just haven't got into it at all. Brady and Goodmanson, the two players that have come in, have looked very much off the pace. Certainly Goodmanson, who I don't think has had too much of a kick so far in this first half. Here's Brady, but his touch was very, very poor, and he's given it straight to Sigurdsson. You don't want to be doing that against a player of his quality. Here's Richarlison on the right hand side. He cuts inside, and it's almost as if Everton now are passing the ball around with complete will. No pressure whatsoever. Burnley are not closing down good enough. And Everton are having the freedom of their own turf here. Richarlison into Sigurdsson. It's out of the area. Tries to skip past a couple of defenders. Tarkowski got it away that time. And hooked away once more. In fact, I can tell you now that Richarlison's goal it's not gone down as a Richarlison own goal. It's gone down as a Ben Mee own goal. I've just had that confirmed to me right now from my ears that it's an own goal by Ben Mee. That was going wide. So Ben Mee, why did he feel the need to get in to try and block a shot which was going way wide? Let the goalkeeper do his job. Ben Mee's a brilliant defender. Let's not make any suggestions, and I'm not trying to knock Ben Mee in any way, shape or form, but that was just brainless. Should have left it to his goalkeeper. That's a complete mistrust in his goalkeeper, I believe. La Liga, Leganes are 2 up against Seville, who have had so much European success in the Europa League in recent years, of course. Everton, in their previous 4 games at Goodison Park, all clean sheets, have won 3, including a 4-0 success against a very poor Manchester United team, have drawn 1 and have lost none. So they're in very good form here at Goodison and ending the season in fantastic form. Looks like they might be going above Leicester City unless Burnley can find something here on the right hand side. Can they find something? The ball in there towards one for Goodmanson, and it was hooked away brilliantly by former Burnley defender Michael Keane. But that's the first positive thing I think I've seen Burnley do in the whole first half, and we've been playing now for 26 minutes. And it's just a shame it's ended up being at 2-0 down when they've actually started to do something. Here's Goodmanson. Did he keep that in? The answer was yes. But he made a bit of a hash of it, to be fair. Which is a little bit frustrating really on that front. As the ball played in towards the edge of the area again for Burnley as they look to try and get back into the game. They're going to have to, if they're going to have any designs of getting anything out of this game. I mean, the game is not beyond them at this stage, but they must play with a bit more brawn and a bit more brains if they're going to have any real designs of even picking up a point here, because at the moment, if Everton keep going the way they are, they could end up winning by 4 or 5, and that's no exaggeration. But that's a good tackle from James Tarkowski, showing Ben Mee how it should be done, how defending should be done. And we're all talking about Ben Mee being a shoo-in for the England team. Well, maybe after that first goal, maybe we might have to take another look at it again. Might have to think again. Burnley under the cosh again. They've got a corner to defend. Schneiderlin, Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, Keane, all in the Burnley penalty area. And Calvert-Lewin, as I say, and Trezeguet too. The ball breaks loose and almost a third, nearly broke in the area for Richarlison, and Tarkowski had just got that one away. Very, very poor this from Burnley in defence. They've really been all over the place, but they've got an opportunity here on the far side. Cook to hook the ball in, but it's gone behind Barnes and one inside the area. It was a poor cross, and Burnley just are not getting it together in this first half. They really aren't. Neither in defence or attack. Ben Mee at fault, in my opinion, for the first goal. You're going down as an own goal. Let's not forget that. Richarlison will not have 14 for the season. He stays on 13. As Westwood now, the real unsung hero of this Burnley second half of the season, where they've picked up 26 points since that very shambolic display against Everton on Boxing Day. And that really was the turning point in their season, and would have been offside if the ball had reached him. James Tarkowski there showing Ben Mee how it should be done defending. Sean Dyche will be tearing it, well, I say tearing his hair out. He's got no hair. But whatever he is, he'll be absolutely fuming with Ben Mee, and I think he'll be fuming with the linesman, potentially that the flag should have gone up, but as I say, he won't be pleased with his squad in the first half. They haven't really turned up and not been at the races. I don't think Tom Heaton could have done much more with the second one. It was swerving a little bit, which made the save that little bit more trickier. And well, Coleman was able to be on hand for Everton, and not in the second. Nothing Tom Heaton could have done about it. And I'm pretty sure that Ben Mee, if he'd have left that just brainless from Ben Mee. Really was brainless. Anyway, Brady trying to get down the left hand side, but Seamus Coleman is too sly or too wily a defender to be fooled by him. Both international teammates with the Republic of Ireland, of course, Robbie Brady and Seamus Coleman. As we go towards 29.5 minutes here at Goodison Park, a buoyant Goodison Park if you're an Evertonian listening in, but not a good piece of audio if you're a Burnley fan like me. 2-0 down and completely being embarrassed, if truth be told. Burnley 2-0 down here, and deservedly so. Here's James Tarkowski for the Clarets, midway inside their own half. Everton not putting them under any great deal of pressure. His ball was a bit tame now. It's just about reached Westwood. We've had half an hour of the first half. Everton 2, Burnley 0. Quarter of an hour to go to the second half. And Russ has come up with a very interesting stat. A very hard one for Burnley to take, of course. Any Burnley fan to take, but it is true. Nobody has scored more goals in the Premier League than Ben Mee. He scored 4. Lewis Dunk has also scored 4 in his time with Brighton. Cody, Steve Cook and Ryan Shawcross have scored 3 each. I think that's in the Premier League over recent seasons, not this season, because Shawcross is playing in the Championship at the moment with Stoke City, who of course have been relegated last season and are not going to be going up this season. And the Championship is going to be interesting next season. We got Sheffield United and Norwich City, 2 terrific teams that have been in the doldrums for a few years but are back again. Certainly Sheffield United, after 12 years away, they're back in the big time. And Chris Wilder, I've got to tell you, he's done a magnificent job, and I think there'll be a credit to the Premier League. And so will Norwich. Daniel Farker has done a terrific job up at Carrow Road and down at Carrow Road, and that's a terrific little ground as well, and that'll be hosting Premier League football. But who will be hosting Premier League football with them? Will it be, certainly Leeds are in the playoffs, Villa, West Bromwich Albion, and anyone between Derby County, Bristol City or Middlesbrough. Personally, I would have Derby or Bristol City over Middlesbrough for obvious reasons. But having said that, I would make Aston Villa the slight favourites because they're the team in form, and that's no disrespect to Leeds United or any of the other teams. I just think Villa are the team very much in the form book at the moment. Anyway, unbeaten in 11, won 10 of their last 11, so not bad form if you get it at this stage of the season. West Brom will also have won a couple of games as well, as they look to try and get back into the big time at the first time of asking. They were big favourites, in fact, to go up automatically, and you know, will the owners be vindicated by sacking Darren Moore? We'll have to see in the next 2 or 3 weeks. If that's the case, hopefully we'll have the Championship playoff final for you at the end of the month as well. Just to confirm on the possession stats, Everton still having the better of things with 64% to Burnley 36, 10 shots to none in Everton's favour, and 2 shots on target. It was 3 earlier, but well, we can't say for sure whether Leeds will play Derby. But what I will say is that Aston Villa are my pick to win the playoffs. Sorry, Russ. But I honestly think Villa are the team in form, and I don't say that harshly, and it's nothing to do with what happened the other day. Anyway, Burnley going forward. They've got a chance. Oh, what a good volley from Barnes on the far post, but the flag has gone up. Oh my goodness, he looked level to me, and the linesman may have booed again. Was Barnes offside as the ball was played? It was a sumptuous volley. Probably not. I think the referee's assistant got it right. Well, there we go. Officiating inconsistencies are there, but Barnes will not get his 7th goal in his last 9 away games. But never mind. The ball at Burnley, I got the ball in the net, but Barnes again, like Wood, just a little bit gun-ho when trying to break the offside trap, but the referee's assistant got it right. Well, I can't say. I mean, if you want my opinion on the fiasco, I honestly think Leeds should have put the ball out, just in the spirit of the game. There was nothing in the rules saying that as the header comes in towards Richarlison or Calvert-Lewin. It's over the bar. Just purely and simply for spirit of the game terms, because 10 minutes before Villa had a good attack and they kicked the ball out so Forshaw could receive an injury, could get treatment. I think Leeds should have done the same in the spirit of the game, but there was nothing in the rules, I should stress, and I'm being totally neutral here, so Russ, don't get on at me for this, but in the spirit of the game, I think there were a few rules broken there, but in the laws of the game, they were right to carry on. But it's a grey area. It's something I don't really want to go down, but I just wanted to give people my opinion of that fiasco. Villa felt aggrieved, and some people will say rightly, some people will say wrongly, but I think a draw was a fair result, and fair play to the Leeds manager. He didn't have to do the kind act that he did, and I think he deserves a bit of fair play there. Definitely a fair play award for that, but you know, but Russ, the problem is Forshaw didn't have a head injury 10 minutes before. That's what I'm getting at, Russ. I'm not trying to accuse Leeds of anything. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have a mutual assessment of things and trying to be as fair and as honest as I can. I think the spirit of the game, there are fellow professionals out there. If it's an injury, put the ball out. It's up to you. I mean, the rules say you don't, but the area, I think what I'm trying to get at, Russ, is not the fact that Leeds have done anything wrong or anything bad. I just think the spirit of the game was destroyed. But having said that, it is within the rules. If it's not a injury, Leeds were well within their rights to play on. I should stress that under FIFA laws, but at the end of the day, the laws are complete. You know what. Meanwhile, Westwood has been booked for a foul, which I think was a little bit harsh. It's just a follow through. I think Chris Kavanagh was a very, very poor decision from Chris Kavanagh. I don't think he went in there with the intentions of injury shadowing. He went in there, had every right. He had a chance of winning the ball. He was a little bit late, but I don't think it was risking the injury of a fellow professional. I think Chris Kavanagh was I think Chris Kavanagh was a little bit too gung-ho there with that decision. Very poor decision to book Westwood, in my opinion. Anyway, 10 minutes to go to half time. Let's get back to today's game and all that. But I'm just trying to be fair on the Leeds Villa thing. But I fancy Villa in the playoffs very strongly. Dean Smith has done a terrific job. Anyway, back to the game, as I say, and Barnes going in there, and in fact Goodmanson going in there. Burnley actually getting a decision, which makes a change. Yeah, but Ross, there's still the spirit of the game you've got to consider. It doesn't matter where on the pitch. Schneider, whilst we're talking, is off there. But listen, I'm just being strictly neutral. I'm not in the Villa corner. I'm not in the Leeds corner. I'm just seeing it as I call it. People can have their own opinions. I know as a Leeds fan, you'll obviously side with Leeds, and that's fair enough, and I accept that. But in my opinion, I think the spirit of the game was tarnished that afternoon. But it's not. As I say, but having said that, under FIFA laws, you didn't break any rules, so that's how I stand on it. No rules were broken, but the spirit of the game certainly broken. As Burnley go from a free kick, I was floated in towards the penalty area. Robbie Brady with a three-header, which just couldn't be directed on target, and behind for a goal kick. Anyway, it finished 1-1. Leeds obviously didn't get the result they wanted. They did have ample time after that to win it, so there was that as well to consider. But Leeds have still got a chance in the playoffs. All four teams, whoever get there, whether it's Villa, Leeds, West Brom, Derby, Middlesbrough or Bristol City, have all got a chance if one of those teams get in there anyway. Anyway, we're not going to get into an argument what happened on Sunday. Well, so let's just drop the situation. It's happened now. Let's just carry on. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. I've given my opinion. It's as balanced as I can get it at the moment, and I've got to try and be as unbiased as I can. But I do fancy Villa strongly, and it's not because of what happened on Sunday, let me assure you of that, because I think Villa are a big team, European Cup winners. They should be, Villa Park, a terrific ground, and they should be in the Premier League, no doubt about it. And I'm not saying they should be as well, because they've got a great support, a great history, going back to the Don Revie and Howard Wilkinson days. But I fancy Villa. I'd like to see another Midlands team in the Premier Division. Meanwhile, a foul there on Ashley Westwood by Bernard, and I think that was more a vicious challenge than the one that Westwood got booked for earlier on in the first half. Anyway, coming up towards 5 minutes to half time, but a good first half if you're an Evertonian. So if you're a Burnley fan, like this particular commentator here, but very disappointing. And to compound our misery, we've had a goal chalked out for offside, which was proved to be the correct decision in the end. Ashley Barnes went far too soon, went like a bull in a china shop, really. Disputed second goal for Everton. Should that goal have been chalked out? First goal was an own goal for Ben Mee, so it's been a really catastrophic first 40 minutes so far for Burnley. And Sean Dyche, for the first time in probably a long while maybe, needs to really roll a few heads in that Burnley dressing room, because the attitude has just certainly not been there, and the strong jaw that every man and his dog are now are known to see Burnley have every other week. It's just simply not been there in this first half. It's really been quite frankly really disappointed. Anyway, 5 minutes to go to half time. Everton 2, Burnley 0 here in this first half. Burnley really are in a little bit of difficulty here, as just again now comes forward, plays the ball over to the far side. Real opportunity here for Digne now. He's got free waited in the centre, hits Matt Lowton, and it comes away again for Burnley. Been very disappointing really for Burnley as we go to the last 4 minutes. If we can keep it at 2-0 or somehow get to 2-1 before the break, maybe could change things. This is Richarlison now on the right hand side. Coleman on the overlap, goes into Seamus Coleman, who makes a run to the byline. Ben Mee, for the first time, actually does something right and lets the ball go out of play. He's not done anything good up until that point, I should add. Well, it's been a disappointing first half. There's no getting away from that fact. But I would not be surprised in the least that if Sean Dyche has a few choice words with his side, because the attitude, it seems like the attitude of the players has just not been there. It's almost if they've all got their deck chairs and just plucked them on the Goodison Park pitch. It's as if they've just gone on their holidays. There are games to fulfil, and they've got to put in a bit more of a shift than what they have done already so far. Goodmanson now on the right hand side for Burnley. 3 minutes plus stoppage time remaining. We'll take a 10-minute break like we usually do in our live matches. We've got another live match for you tomorrow. We're not sure which one it's going to be, but certainly it will be affected. It might be a Cardiff game, it might be a Brighton game. We'll have to see what the fixtures come about, because we want a game with something in it. We don't know if we're going to see any title contenders tomorrow, so we'll pick the game on its merits. Anyway, back with the action, and here come the blue shirts of Everton, looking to get that 7th spot, which they missed out on last season, of course, to Burnley. And the ball hooked away once more towards Barnes, so there's not going to be a repeat really of what Burnley did last season, where they scored a terrific goal. I think it was after 23 minutes, but it was after a 25 pass move which saw Jeff Hendrick score, and it was a control finish. It was into the same end of the ground as they were attacking in the first half, and it was a really one of the goals I thought of the season. But here goes Sigurdsson now, ball played in, and he's hit it from an acute angle on the left hand side into the Gladys Street behind the goal of Tom Heaton. Burnley survived just about, but once again Everton proving again that they are not in the mood to give any sympathy to Burnley. Bernard playing the ball in from the left hand side, Sigurdsson making a break towards the left of the 6-yard box. Very acute angle. It would have been tough to get that shot on target and into the back of the net, certainly past the goalkeeper of Tom Heaton's standing. Now, can Burnley finish the first half at least with a little bit of positivity, because at the moment, apart from the Ashley Barnes volley, which was chalked out for offside, we've not really offered much, and that's been a frustration. Passes, Everton 284 passes, Burnley 141, and the accuracy Everton far better in that department, 86 to 66% Burnley, which tells you what a stinky first half the Clarets have really put on for their supporters who have travelled. I mean, Merseyside is not too far away, but on a Friday night, people are making an effort to come straight from work on a Friday over to Merseyside. They expect, for the money they paid and the coach travel they paid, it's ridiculous. Anyway, what's your thoughts on Cora Hurahan not facing a ban? I didn't see the incident, Russ, is my verdict. The other incident that I might refer to, the Patrick Bamford incident, was a complete disgrace. I think the right decision was made by the FA. This is nothing against Patrick Bamford. He's an ex-Claret. I have a lot of time for anybody that plays for Burnley, but unfortunately he did he conned the referee into getting Al Ghazi harshly sent off, and thankfully justice prevailed. But I didn't honestly see the Conor Hurahan incident. I didn't see any punches thrown towards Kish, I must admit, but I don't know. It's one of those grey areas. I don't really want to. I haven't seen it, Russ, so I can't really comment on that. Anyway, we're into 1 hour a minute, incidentally, which we've had 15 seconds off, which has been it's been a disaster. Well, I don't think a disaster would be quite putting it that way. I don't think you can use that word, but it's been shall we say, a shambolic, a stinking, horrible first half for Burnley. But they've got, that's a harsh decision against Westwood, and he punches the air in frustration because I thought he dispossessed Trezeguet fairly here. Gets the ball fairly, Trezeguet makes a meal of it, cons the referee. No room for that in the game. And also, while we're just talking about Messi, I think he should be barred as well from the powers that be at UEFA, because he appeared to punch somebody in the build-up to his free kick goal as Pickford takes the free kick and half-time has been blown. So let's just remind you what happened. First goal for Everton came very early on in the first half. In fact, 17 minutes. Ben Mee should have left that. He hit him, went in the net. It was Richarlison's shot, which was going well wide, and Ben Mee for some reason decided, I'll try and block this, and he absolutely made a horrible mistake. I'll look at it later. I just want to take a 15-minute break and look at the analysis of what's been a poor Burnley performance. I'm more worried about Burnley at the moment than I am with any other incidents that have been taking place. Then the second goal, really, again, should it have been enough? Should it have been allowed? Well, we'll find out from Sean afterwards. But it's not been a great first half, I'm afraid, guys. Burnley 2 up, but on the flip side, you've got to say Everton have wanted it far more. Burnley's attitude tonight is one of, we've done enough now. We've got 40 points. Cardiff can't catch us. Let's just go and put some chairs on the Goodison Park pitch and just let Everton run right. And it's felt like that for 45 minutes. And I think Everton deserved their lead, but Burnley's attitude in that first half was really, really dire and shambolic, and it stunk. And Sean Dyche, I think, needs to have a few heads rolling in that away dressing room, because that first 45 minutes, simply put, was just not good enough. And it's an insult to the Burnley fans that have made the trip from Lancashire to Merseyside on a Friday night after work and everything else, and they haven't, and the money they've paid to get there, and they haven't had that value for money from their team tonight. Anyway, hopefully Burnley will play better in the second half. We're going to take a 10-minute break, but the half-time situation here, if you're a Claret, it's not good news, because at half-time it's Everton 2, Burnley 0. We'll be back after the 10-minute break. Welcome back to Goodison Park, everybody, for the second half. I just want to read some Facebook comments from Burnley fans here who are very disgruntled about the first half. This one, it was a poor goal for Burnley to give away. The second one, the ball swerving, I don't think that helped Tom's cause there. He makes a good save, but Coleman is onside. Now, apparently, I've had it on good authority that Richarlison was not interfering with the goalkeeper's line of sight, which is why the goal was allowed, but I think FIFA need to amend the rules on offside and just make it as simple as possible. If a player's offside, doesn't matter whether he's interfering with play or not, tag him offside. That's the point. Make the offside rule as simple and not a grey area. I think FIFA need to look at how they rule the game and govern the game, because at the moment this offside rule malarkey is an absolute load of tosh. Anyway, let's. I don't like to be negative here, but a lot of Burnley fans are echoing what I just said. Let's just take a few of them out. One says, almost as embarrassing as Boxing Day. Shadowing, two-footed tackle on Westwood not mentioned. I've got to admit I didn't see that, but it does look as if it was a two-footed challenge. On the beach performance, I don't think that's far from the truth. Poor first half display from the Burnley. For a mid-table side, certainly gave us trouble. Brady's poor, get McNeil on. I've had to redo that text because there is a four-letter word which I'm not going to mention. Everton are on fire. Need a good clear out at the end of the season. Let Henrik, Brady, Defoe and Crouch go off the wage bill. We need our depth. Can't knock the gaffer. Really, one guy here, Bob Lord Sausages. What a guy that is. In fact, just before we carry on, it's there's been some news. Chris has reported here from reported to me here that in the away end, allegedly, one steward has thrown out a few fans for allegedly being drunk and disorderly. Now, if that's true, then I'm afraid some of the conduct of the Burnley fans will need to be investigated, and I'm sure there'll be court appearances and bans, and we don't want to see that, because the Burnley fans, and I go to a lot. Sometimes I go down to the turf a lot as a fan, and most of the Burnley fans are very well behaved. But if people have been drunk, but apparently the accounts of events suggest the stewards have been completely out of order. Now, if they've done nothing wrong, then the stewards need to be looked at. The stewarding, I think, certainly when you're a away fan. And the guy who's been thrown out, he said some Everton official grabbed me by the neck and grabbed me, telling me to F word off because I've had a drink. Well, I just honestly think if that's the case, then the steward needs to be investigated. If he's doing nothing wrong, if he's had a drink, he's not completely drunk or completely out of it. Just a few more comments here. Really need to spend in the summer, says Bob Lord Sausages. Can't have another season signing rubbish and messing about in the transfer market. We'll struggle big time next season if we carry on like we are. Another fan says it's not on. Okay, we're safe, but we have fans who have travelled to the game and they deserve better. Another one just before the kick-off. Burnley are about to get us underway in the second half, or Everton are. Burnley out on the pitch, incidentally. Another one says, amateur defending, please bring in quality in the summer. On the ball, we are frightened. We have looked like rabbits on headlights for the first 45 minutes. It's Burnley to kick off. I'll check on more comments at the end of the night. Nice to see CW on the text messages. Hopefully we'll have him back on commentary duty at some point, and maybe we can join us for the end of the evening and to sum up his view on things. But anyway, back into the second half we go, and it's Burnley who trail 2-0. They get us underway. They're attacking the Grady Street end to my right hand side, and they already have a free kick straight away about 5 yards inside the Everton half, fouled by Cenk Tosun. No, sorry, it's Calvert-Lewin. Sorry. Let me just remind you the two teams. We were a little bit late in joining you because we had some sound issues at the start. Everton line up with Pickford in goal, Coleman, Keane, the former Clarets, Zuma and Dignan, Schneiderlin, Trezeguet, Richarlison, who's initial goal has been chalked off and it's gone down as a Ben Mee own goal. Sigurdsson, Bernard and Calvert-Lewin. Seamus Coleman's got the second one as Burnley get a free kick, and the ball comes towards Sigurdsson, who shoots with his left foot, but shoots just wide of the left hand upright and behind for an Everton goal kick. On the bench for the Toffees, we got Stecklenburg, Baines, Jagielka, Theo Walcott, Cenk Tosun, Tom Davis and Adebola Lookman. For Burnley, their lineup unchanged. Heaton in goal, Lawton, Tarkowski, Mee and Taylor across the back, the usual back four. Gudmundsson, Westwood, Cork and Brady, Barnes and Wood. Barnes had a goal actually chalked offside, and it was the right decision by the referee. And his assistant as Coleman makes a break forward and Tarkowski knocks it out for a corner. Just remind you of the two Burnley bench, Joe Hart, Jeff Henrik, Ben Gibson, Peter Crouch, Matty Vidra, Kevin Long and Dwight McNeil. Referee Chris Kavanagh from Manchester. And I'll get back to another comment that Chris has put up on there in just a second or two. In the last game of the season, I've been fine, but I've been dragged out. I'm not sober, I get that, but the disagreement is disgraceful. I have been... and I'll just carry on in a second because Everton have got a corner here. So I'm having to play the role of news reporter and commentator at the same time as the ball played in towards Keane, who's trying to score against his old club, get the header in, but very tame on the 6-yard line, and Tom Heaton was able to pounce on at his left hand post, the near post as we look, and Burnley try to break away and the ball's out of play for a throw-in conceded by Drissa Gay. Going back to the other comment, by the sounds of things, the stewards are being over the top towards fans who are just having a good time and a good night out. But we'll hear more later, I'm sure. Well, let's hope that's the case. We've got a player down, incidentally, inside the centre circle. It looks like Richarlison is the man stricken here. Seamus Coleman and Schneiderlin are concerned about the welfare, and it looks as if we're going to have to see a substitution. It's going to be the very pacey Theo Walcott. Excuse me, coming towards the end of his first season here at Goodison. Aside from Arsenal, of course, where he spent over a decade at the Emirates Stadium with a couple of FA Cups, but no more with Arsenal. For a man that had so much promise when he broke into the team at 16 with Southampton, scored that hat-trick, you might remember all those years ago in Croatia with England. He looked a player with real promise, but it's just not gone his way. He's not had the career he was hoping he'd have. He was certainly a terrific player in his early days at Southampton, very impressive, and I thought he would go on and do the trick, but it hasn't worked out for him. But he's still had a decent career out of it. Anyway, he's come on now, and Everton have had to make that change. Richarlison cuts a very disappointed figure, but he's been patted on the back by his colleagues. But he's done his job tonight, Richarlison. There's no doubt about it, which is more than some of the Burnley players have done at this moment in time. They haven't really offered anything to this football game. Burnley don't get the decision. It's a throw to Everton, which Digne will take. Some of the comments from the fans about the game were not very encouraging. One suggesting it's almost on par with a 5-1 loss on Boxing Day. The way the first half went, it couldn't have been further from the truth. Well, it couldn't have been far from the truth, I should say. Anyway, 3.5 minutes gone in the second half, and Burnley do have a throw-in just shy of halfway, just inside their own half here. Marco Silva, he's shivering a little bit on that far touchline, I have to say. But it has been disappointing, really, from the Clarets, both on and off the pitch, by the sounds of it. As Burnley try to make something of it. Oh, they might get in here on the right hand side. Ball played into the 6-yard area, and well defended there by Schneiderlin, because there was a Burnley player unmarked in the centre, and if it had reached him then, I think it was Ashley Barnes, then it might have been 2-1. And in fact it was Barnes who was waiting in the middle, and it should have been one back there for Burnley. 5 minutes into the second half, a little bit better from the Clarets. Gudmundsson to take the corner. And the question on everyone's lips, will we see McNeil at any point during the second half? I think we need to get Jack McNeil on and get a little bit of energy on. But at the moment, Brady has not been he's been off the pace. Gudmundsson's corners have been poor. I just wonder if the two changes were premature, but Gudmundsson and Brady have not really taken their chances tonight, I'm afraid. Here's Westwood with a crossing from the right-hand touchline, but into the penalty area, but it's well defended by Everton. and that's been the golfing class between the two teams. And here's Tarkowski, out comes Eaton, playing the sweeper keeper and getting it out for a throw-in on halfway on the near side. Burnley captain in an all yellow goalkeeping jersey this evening, going away with the side of his right foot there. Going towards the end of our commentaries, we've got another live match tomorrow, and that's a big one, and we're up at St James's Park. I can confirm that it's going to be the late game between Newcastle and Liverpool. It's the title race for us tomorrow evening, and we'll be at St James's Park for a 5:30 kick-off between Newcastle and Liverpool. Remember, Liverpool needing to bounce back after that drubbing at the after that 3-0 defeat in the Nou Camp. So we'll be with Liverpool tomorrow for the Saturday game, and that will be coming live from St James's Park. So that's our live match confirmed, and we'll have at the start of the programme the full classified checks from England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland to come at 5 o'clock, as we expect, as you would expect every other Saturday. And it'll be the final time this year, in fact, that we'll be able to do that classified results for you. The regular championship season ends as well this weekend, along with Leagues 1 and 2, where we'll see who goes where. Luton and Barnsley, who will win the League 1 title. They're both into the championship next season, and apparently it's a 7:45 kick-off, not 5:30, but we will be there. That is for sure. That'll be our live offering tomorrow evening. Anyway, back to the game. I didn't realise it was a 7:45 kick-off. Anyway, here's Brady now for Burnley as they look to try and get back into the game. There's the ball into the penalty area, well taken by Jordan Pickford. I had no idea it was a 7:45 kick-off. I actually thought it was a 5:30 game, but it isn't. I've been reliably informed now by Russ. But very disappointing for Burnley Football Club. Safe as ours for next season. There's no disputing that. They won't drop down at least for 24 hours, considering what everyone else does tomorrow. Southampton could conceivably go above them if they won tomorrow. Ralph Hasenhüttl could are on 38 points at the moment. They're safe, and they'll look to hit that magical 41-point mark that he set for his side when he took over from Mark Hughes. Meanwhile, Bernard trying to play the ball in from the edge of the penalty area, trying to chip it into the we're on a World Cup, but the ball was hooked away, but only as far as Drissa Gana-Gay, who's run the show a little bit in midfield along with Sigurdsson. Ball in towards the penalty area, and it will come to Digne now on the left hand side by the byline. Digne gets the crossing, hits Gudmundsson. It's a corner now to Everton, and also Cardiff City Crystal Palace is the 5:30 game. So there we go. But certainly Liverpool and Newcastle is one that we'll certainly keep an eye on for you tomorrow evening. Right, anyway, back with the action here at Goodison Park. We'll get all that confusion sorted out a bit later on, but it's Everton 2, Burnley 0 here at Goodison. Burnley have not really performed as well, and it's almost a mirror image of the penultimate game of last season, their final away game last season, when they put in a very, very despicable display against Arsenal. And really they've done exactly the same again this season, albeit they've only conceded 2 this time, and the damage has been limited as the intended corner kick into taken in towards Bernard from Sigurdsson went a little bit awry because he slipped over, which got a little bit of cheer on the pocket of Burnley fans who have not been treated, but those who are lucky enough not to have been ejected quite harshly by this Everton steward. But there's alleged reports, so we can't confirm anything as yet until we get concrete evidence of it. But from what the reports have said tonight, it's not looking good. I mean, Burnley fans tend to be the sort of supporters that don't go causing any trouble. They just they like a beer and have a good time like any other football fan. And I just think the stewards at this football club, I think the stewarding, certainly towards away supporters, should be looked at very, very very. I know there's been a lot of violence, and I know there's been a lot of racial abuse from supporters and things like that. But for guys just having a drink, meanwhile, as Burnley come forward, Ben Mee actually doing some good defensive work for a change. Well, that makes a change. He's been at fault certainly for the first goal. Burnley all over the place for the second one. Under FIFA laws, the Everton goal was the second goal was right to stand because as the ball was played in towards Barnes, but that's gone behind. But just going back to that second goal again, myself and Russ felt that it was offside, but having seen the half-time analysis on television, I think we'll find under the FIFA laws at the moment this is the problem with the offside decision. They make it so difficult. It's untrue. Peter Crouch, I'm just seeing there on the bench with Jack McNeil just sat in front of him. I wonder if we'll see McNeil tonight. Jeff Henrik to Crouch's right hand side as well. I'm just thinking, under FIFA laws, if a player's offside as the ball is hit but he's not interfering with the goalkeeper's line of sight, it is deemed not interfering with play. It's a grey area, as I say, but they should go back to the old-fashioned rule. But we'll just break off for a second because Goodness is making a break, but then it's a poor flick, and that's been the difference. If we'd have had Henrik and McNeely from the start, I don't think we would have had those balls that we've seen there. Burnley have been very poor, and I think Gudmundsson and Brady have been well off the pace. Going back to this offside thing, under the FIFA laws, it is the correct decision. It is a goal. It's perfectly good because Coleman is demanding the goalkeeper's eyesight, but he's onside. That's the point. But Richarlison certainly wasn't interfering with play as the ball was kicked, and that should be a yellow card against Michael Keane for a very high foot. I think Chris Kavanagh has let Everton off the hook a few times there. When you see Westwood get booked for winning the ball, and you see him fouled by Schneiderlin for a 2-footed tackle, it just boggles the mind, honestly. But Burnley have a free kick. Can they get back into the game? If they can get back into the game, they've got themselves a chance for the last half an hour. That's a poor free kick again. The set plays have been despicable, really, from Burnley tonight. It really has been a toothless, spineless, hopeless performance. Here's Tom Heaton kicking it away. Everton really haven't had to turn up. Neymar one shoots and hits it straight into the arms of Pickford, who just dived away to his left hand side as he looked at it, to the right as we looked, and it was easy for the England number one at the moment, and he hasn't had too much to do, although the ball has gone in his net, but the referee's assistant did quite rightly raise his flag. But what the point I'm trying to make is that FIFA should look at the rule again in the summer and change it and make it simple and simplify it. Just say if you're beyond the last defender as the ball is played, you're offside whether you're interfering with play or not. Simplify the offside rule, make it easy for everybody to understand. For all types of football fan, whether they are a hardcore fan or just a casual fan, make it simplified. Make the offside law simple. It's not rocket science. So I'm appealing to FIFA's better nature. Get the offside rule simplified for everybody. But it is a grey area, and no doubt there will be discussions about it, certainly from Sean Dyche afterwards. Meanwhile, Everton trying to get him through Walcott as Bernard played the ball over the top, but he couldn't be found. But it has been a chasing evening for the Clarets. There's no two ways about it, in that hideous black and grey kit, and the sooner they dump that for the next season, the better. I don't think they do well in black, to be honest with you, Burnley. I don't understand why they just didn't wear claret and blue like they did last season. Meanwhile, we've got a problem here with one of the Burnley players. It's down. Ali B to the physio has been called. I can't tell you who it is just yet, but I'm guessing it's Jack Cork. Drissagana gave bodies blocking my view of it. Well, my guess was right. It is Jack Cork. Not had one of his better games tonight, it has got to be said. Like a lot of the Burnley lads who just haven't performed beyond any recognition, really, this evening. It's been quite easy for Everton in a lot of respects. They haven't given Ashley Barnes or Chris Wood too much opportunities to test Jordan Pickford. Chris Wood has tested him a few minutes ago, but that's probably been about it. Barnes had the ball in the back of the net, but he was about a yard or two offside. I can pleased to report that Jack Cork's ready to come on, and maybe Sean Dyche has to consider now making changes, certainly in midfield. Get McNeil, get Henrik on. Maybe it's very disappointing. We'll be keeping our eye across the final day of the Premier League season, of course, on Sunday. Everton go to Tottenham, and Burnley are at home to Arsenal, who had a cracking win yesterday in the Europa semi-final. The 3-1 up from the first leg against Valencia. Valencia have scored an away goal in that game, but Arsenal's performance, having got a goal down at the Emirates last night, was a terrific performance. A bit like they got against Napoli, really. And all Arsenal need to do is hold their nerve next week in the Mestalla, and they'll be into a European final. For the first time since 2006. As Burnley want to get back in there for Gudmundsson at the far post. At the right hand post. There might have been a push into the penalty area. Robbie Brady, the first time we've really seen him show a really good bit of form down that side. He hasn't really shown his best form since the early part of the 2017-18 season, before he got injured at the Leicester, and it just came to Gudmundsson. It went beyond Barnes, and Gudmundsson just couldn't get there. Real opportunity, and I don't think Brady or Gudmundsson have shown enough tonight. I think they both need to be hauled off for their own sake more than anything else. They put in some really diabolical performances. Meanwhile, Wood to Lowton, really poor there, give the ball away. And Burnley just lacking in that final third, I believe, in the field. I really do. But 62 and a half minutes gone. Voting will be opening now for man of the match in just a minute. When we hit 65 minutes, the voting will start again. I'll remind you of how you do that in a second. But here's Drissaghan again on the left-hand side, inside the area. Pulls the ball back and tries to find Bernard. Calvert-Lewin tries the shot, and it goes into the Park Road stand with his right foot and over the Heaton's crossbar and behind for a goal kick. Right, you've got a couple of minutes before you start voting for the JB Man of the Match award. Just to remind you again of the rules. Not that you need reminding, but if there are any new listeners out there who are not familiar with the format, basically you choose the name of the player you want to see win the Man of the Match award, and you vote, and the vote will only count if you hashtag it, and you hashtag JBMOTM. It's important you put that in order for the vote to count, and the player who gets the most votes at the end of it will win the man of the match. And you've got from the 65th minute to the 90th minute to vote, so you've got to go 25 minutes to get your votes in for that, and it's voted by you. If it's a draw, then yours truly on the mic has the casting vote. Plenty of good candidates for man of the match from Everton's point of view tonight. I have to say Drissaghan and Dignan and Richarlison have all had good games as the ball is played forward. Sigurdsson now on the right hand side. He plays the ball to the 6-yard box. Well defended by Tarkowski, although Calvert-Lewin was working with intent. Everton still haven't finished yet, and they're looking for that third that will kill the game off and kill Burnley off. But James Tarkowski said, right, I'm going to make up for what Ben Mee should have done in the first half, defend. And he did just that. The former Oldham and Brentford man. Really good defending there by James Tarkowski, not once but twice. He stopped Sigurdsson getting his ball in twice there. It's an Everton throw level with the Burnley 6-yard box, in line with it in fact, and the ball comes away and it comes off the defender and hooked away into touch. And now here's Westwood for Burnley over the halfway line, touches his on to Gudmundsson. Gudmundsson now has it. He'll run at defenders. It's Johan Berg Gudmundsson into Westwood. Westwood does well. Picks out Gudmundsson once again. Now Westwood. Burnley must score now. Voting is now open for JB Man of the Match. Again, I'll remind you of the voting process as soon as this attack comes to a close. But Everton now have it with Drissaghan. And Drissaghan plays it back to Kurt Zouma, the former Chelsea defender. And it's hooked away this time by Everton. 2 goals ahead here at Goodison Park. Right, the JB Man of the Match award is now open. He's 30 seconds into the voting system, and Russ is showing you how to do it. Meanwhile, Chris Wood's first touch let him down, and the flag had stayed down. And Chris Wood really has been frustrating in the last 3 games. He had a chance to score the winning goal against Chelsea just under 2 weeks ago. He had a big opportunity at 0-0 on Sunday. But his first touch really heavy, and that was really a bad first touch again. Really brainless attacking really from Chris Wood. Anyway, here's Westwood now. Try to get the cross in to the penalty area. As I say, Russ Vernon has done it right. So it doesn't matter where you put the hashtag, as long as it's hashtag Lucas Dignan is his vote, and it's a legitimate vote. So whoever has the most legitimate votes at the end will win. And if anyone's listening or listening for the first time, you know what it's all about now. Here's Seamus Coleman down on the outside, played in towards the penalty area. Calvert-Lewin was waiting as well, so too was Theo Walcott inside the penalty area. Still not away yet from Burnley, who are all over the place at the moment, if truth be told. Drissa Gay now has it down towards Dignan, who's Russ Vernon's choice for winning the match, and not too many people will disagree. He's worked tirelessly hard down that left-hand channel all night. He's had a super game. Here's Bernard on the left-hand side. Now then, he'll put the ball back. It comes off a defender. It's a corner. Came off Lowton. It will be a corner kick to Everton. Burnley certainly all over the place at the moment. Just can't get out their own half. 67 minutes gone. And we're going to see Dwight McNeil. And, well, he should have come on 7 or 8 minutes earlier. He's going to Peter Crouch. Well, if that's the height of ambition from Sean Dyche, then I'm afraid that's ridiculous. Peter Crouch, sorry, 38 years old, ridiculous. Poor substitution if he's going to send on Crouch at some point. Smacks of stupid desperation from me. Anyway, here's Dignan. Played in Sigurdsson, 25 yards out, hits the shot. Cunning off Jack Cork, who was the furthest Burnley player forward, and still basically in his own half of the field, which shows how deep Burnley are having to defend here. Is there a worse performance than Sunday from Burnley? Well, you say that, Russ, and I think you're being a bit harsh, because let's be fair, we're up against Manchester City, who are in red hot form, scoring goals for fun. I saw them against Manchester United, commentated on them a week ago, and they were superb in the second half. We had to defend. I don't think there was much doubt about that. We had a goal. We tried to have a goal. But City are just a class apart from anyone else. And I think unless they slip up against... unless they slip up in the next couple of games, which I can't see them doing, they're going to be league champions. And there's no shame in losing 1-0 to league champions, to champions elect. But take nothing away from Liverpool. They still have a tough test at Newcastle. Let's not forget they've got to bounce back from that defence. I'm very disappointed. I think tonight has been more worse in the attitude. I don't think the attitude wasn't. You can't say the attitude wasn't there on Sunday, Russ, because it was. And they were determined to get a decent result. They did try, but tonight they just haven't. Anyway, Dwight McNeil's come on, and I've missed who he's replaced. I assume it's neither one of Goodmanson or Brady. I'm assuming it's Robbie Brady, and McNeil will play on the left-hand side. That's what I am. If I can get that substitution confirmed, because I was so busy reading other people's comments, we didn't get that substitution confirmed. But I can tell you, Dwight McNeil is on. I'm more worried about who is replaced. I think, looking at that, it's Goodmanson. Well, if he's playing on the right, that's another. I think that's an interesting but poor substitution from Dyche. McNeil is a left-sided player. Why is he being utilised on the right-hand side? That's poor from Dyche, I'm afraid. Anyway, here's Lowton now. McNeil on the overlap. Should be playing on the left-hand side. Brady should have been the one who's gone, for me. It just smacks of stupidity from Dyche, that substitution. McNeil's a left-sided player, as every man in his dog knows, and he's being utilised on the wrong side. Anyway, Surma has knocked it out for a throw-in, and Burnley have an opportunity. We're going to see Adam Moller-Luckman, who's had a spell in Germany. Young player. But I don't think it's a good tactical substitution, because if he's naturally left-footed, get him on the left-hand side. It makes sense to play him on the left-hand side. I think logic would dictate that. Anyway, back with the game, and it's Cork into McNeil. McNeil trying to play the ball around the corner. A very fearless player, nevertheless. Lowton is onside, cuts inside, and sure, he was body checked there by Digne, and the referee didn't give anything. Well, I felt that was a free kick. I felt, in all honesty, that was a free kick, and Digne very lucky to escape there. And Brady, that's a poor ball from Brady. Yes, so we got a throw-in out of it, but that ball was just awful. If that was intended for Taylor, that was the most laziest through ball I've seen Brady hit for a long time. Ridiculously poor. Meanwhile, we're going to see a change, and we're going to see Matty Vidra going to come on, I think. Who's he replacing there? I can't see. Ashley Barnes. Well, that's. I mean, that substitution stinks, quite frankly. Barnes has been more likely to make anything happen than Chris Wood, and he's gone off. Should be Barnes and Vidra up front, not Vidra and Wood. I can't understand why Dyche has done that, quite frankly. Serious questions have to be asked about these substitutions as well. It's just been lazy all round from management to players alike tonight for Burnley. It really has. Lackadaisical, I think we might have to term it. Here's McNeil. Should be playing on the left hand side, giving the ball away, cutting in. This is not great tactical know-how from Dyche tonight, I'm afraid. I mean, to the second half of the season, he's got it spot on a lot of the time. But when the pressure's off, he makes mistakes from that. And here's a chance now. Can Burnley make something pay with Vidra? Yes, I agree, Russ. Wood should have gone. Wood offered absolutely nothing to the game, and he stays on the field for 90 minutes. When Barnes works tirelessly hard, and he'll give you a shift for a full 90 minutes. Meanwhile, we're going to see a substitution take place, and we're going to see the end of Bernard, who's performed magnificently well for Everton, and he gets a good standing ovation from Marcel Goodison Park. And Adamola Lookman, the young lad promising at Charlton, his Everton career hasn't really quite taken off as yet. Has been loaned out to Germany to revitalise his career. Seems to have gone well, that move. Let's hope he gets a decent run in the team next season. Gets a cameo off the bench for 18 minutes. Still, Lucas Digne leading the charge for man of the match on the JB award. Meanwhile, we'll reiterate what you need to do in a second. Here's Lowton chipping the ball towards the far post. Never going to reach Vidra. And it just shows how clueless and how poor the Burnley side have been tonight. Right, anyway, back to the man of the match award very quickly whilst we got a break in play. Russ, as I say, has already voted, and he's voted for Lucas Digne, and he's hashtagged it with the hashtag JBMLTM, and that's what you guys need to do for the next 17 minutes or so, because if you want to select another player other than Lucas Digne winning man of the match, just break off for a second because Matty Vidra has got he's a push there by Keane, is it? It's got to be a penalty. Oh my goodness me, Chris Kavanagh, what are you playing at? That's a penalty. He's pushed him over quite cleanly and quite clearly, and Chris Kavanagh once again, not for the first time tonight, has made an absolute holics of a poor decision. That's a definite penalty. Definitely inside the box. Definitely a shoving Vidra's back. Watch this. Penalty. All the way. All the way. It's a penalty. Michael Keane gets off scot-free because at the moment he's pushed the second time round, his foot is on the line. The edge of the line of the penalty area. And if that to me is inside the box, and that, in my opinion, is a penalty, how can Chris Kavanagh, who's got a clear view of it, by the way, not spot that? It's an absolute disgrace of a decision. Absolute disgrace of a decision. Not detracting from how Burnley have been poor tonight, but if that penalty gets given and it's converted, by the way, that puts Burnley back in the game. Disgraceful decision from the Manchester referee there, referee from Manchester. Really poor decision. We've just got over a quarter of an hour to go. It's not going to be a great night for Burnley on their final away game of the season, but they have been poor. But I'm looking at it again. To me, he's on the line there. Penalty. It's as clear as a bell. Matty Vidra, no wonder we could look quizzical at the referee, because That is a poor decision. That is up there with one of the worst decisions. I think it's up there with the non-decision of the Barnes penalty he didn't get earlier on in the game against Southampton. Yes, they got a penalty later, but at that time it was 0-0. And Barnes had a clear-cut penalty in that game. You may remember in the halfway through the first half, towards the end of the first half, certainly taken out by the goalkeeper, and didn't get the penalty. I think Burnley do get a raw deal as regards penalties. We've had a couple this season, one against Southampton later in that same match, and then at Brighton the next week, both of which you heard on the Clarets game live, incidentally. Not to start plugging it again, but we were there for that piece of Burnley history. But we've had 2 penalties all season, which is two more than what we had last season. Matty Vidra has been penalised over on the far side, incidentally. We're now into the 76th minute, but Chris Kavanagh might have a lot to answer to Sean Dyche for here. Quite honestly, because that was a penalty. Matty Vidra, well, that's a foul. If he can give a free kick for a powder puff push on Theo Walcott when there's a clear push not 2 minutes ago on Matty Vidra by Michael Keane inside the penalty area, then the inconsistency of certain referees has got to be questioned. As CW quite rightly points out, refs give nothing to smaller teams. That's Man City or Liverpool. It's a penalty and a yellow, and Chris makes that point vehemently clear. And he also makes that point also during his commentaries, which is quite right, I think, in a lot of respects. But with VAR coming into the Premier League next season, I think all that will be changing, hopefully for the better. We might get more fairer decisions. Meanwhile, Burnley looking to get one back. But despite that poor decision, I don't think we can detract really from the way that Burnley have played tonight. Very, very disappointed. It's almost as if they've got the deck chairs out on the Goodison Park pitch. Meanwhile, McNeil has obstructed his man. Free kick on the near side to Everton. It was a foul there on Adam Mola-Luckman, and a free kick it is to the Toffees, who have been good value, to be fair, for a 2-goal lead. And really, Burnley should be thankful at the moment it's still at 2, because Everton have had lots of shots. Almost as much as Chelsea had the other day at Stamford Bridge, despite the fact that Burnley did get a 2-2 draw. But they haven't shown that attitude or strong draw they showed at Stamford Bridge nearly a fortnight ago, which is really disappointing in retrospect, really, because it just hasn't been that way really in that respect. Anyway, here's Dignan and well, there's one or two. Russ Vernon says he's watching the game alongside Michael Brown, ex-Sheffield United, Emil Heskey as well, ex-Liverpool and Leicester, and he said that both of them agree it's a penalty. Well, but as Chris rightly points out, smaller teams don't get the decisions. Liverpool, Man City's, Man United's and Arsenal's and Chelsea's of this world usually do. Here's Adam Mola-Luckman towards the area. He's run virtually 15 yards on track by a very, very poor Burnley defence. Anyway, here's Chris Wood, who should have been the man substituted and not Ashley Barnes. Now here's Dwight McNeil on the right hand side. Should be playing left side for me. I think Dyche has got both the substitutions wrong for me. As we have a foul there for Tarkowski, a yellow card. Well, that just sums up the referee's poor performance. Almost as poor as Burnley have been tonight. Tarkowski gets a yellow card for a nothing foul really on Calvert-Lewin. When there were Everton challenges that didn't go punished, like a 2-footed challenge on by Schneiderlin on Westwood and plenty of others. But yet he books Tarkowski for nothing but just a normal foul. Jeff Henrik comes on for Robbie Brady. Now, hopefully now with a bit of luck, we'll get Dwight McNeil on the left hand side and Jeff Henrik back on the right, as it always has been. So Burnley have used their substitutions up. Jeff Henrik will play on the right, I presume, and McNeil will go to his more natural position. This should have been done a lot sooner than 79 minutes, in my opinion. And also you've got to question the timing of Dyche's changes. It's almost as if it's back to the first half of the season for me. Here's Calvert-Lewin running into Ben Mee. Been really disappointed in the Burnley performance tonight as a whole. But Everton are in good value. Let's not kid ourselves. Here's Lucas Digne Digne on the near side. So far, the JB man of the match chips the ball into the penalty area from the left-hand side. Tom Heaton has had a much quieter second half than he had the first, in all fairness to Tom. Whether he could have done about the first goal, brainless defending from Burnley, trying to get in the way that a shot that was clearly going wide. And then the second goal, Tom Heaton, the ball, the swerve didn't help his cause on the initial save, because the ball swerves at the last second before he gets the body in the way. Seamus Coleman, clearly onside, heads in the second goal. Yes, there will be complaints about Richarlison, but the fact is he wasn't interfering with play. As the ball is lifted in towards Gylfi Sigurdsson, who's again had a fine game. You've still got a little bit of time left for man in a match. You've got 10 minutes, 9 minutes in fact, to make your man in a match vote. Choose your name. Choose the name of the player that you want to see win in a match, and hashtag it with the hashtag JBMLTM. It's important you do that, and then the vote is validated. Here's Jussigard again, drifted out to the right hand side, shook off 3 dark shirted Burnley players, and then the ball pounced a little bit there, and Tom Heaton got the ball, and down goes an Everton player. Calvert-Lewin has gone down, presumably winded there in a collision. I think, was it with Tarkowski or was it with Tom Heaton? He's looking for that Calvert-Lewin. It's ridiculous. Meanwhile, Matty Bridgewood can't hold the ball up, and Zuma brings it away for Everton. Yeah, they do need to pick it up, and they've got an opportunity against an Arsenal team that don't travel well in the league. And they've lost a few of the last few league games. Yes, they had that result against Valencia last night. It just seems to me that Arsenal are not bothering too much about the league stuff at the moment, and concentrating on putting their eggs in the Europa basket. They've got an opportunity to get 3 points tomorrow at home to Brighton and Hove Albion, and I would assume Arsenal will win that one tomorrow at home. You never know. Brighton could go there and shock the world. They played really well, I thought, last week against Newcastle, certainly in the second half, and showed some encouragement. And I think that goal from Pascal Gross might just save their skins. But it's going to be a tough old test for Cardiff City. They face Brighton's fiercest rivals, Crystal Palace. Now, will Crystal Palace want to jack it in themselves tomorrow? Cardiff need the points. Burnley. Really, Everton have needed the points, because they are in the shake-up for that 7th spot, which could carry a Europa League place unless Watford do win the FA Cup later this month. Here's Gylfi Sigurdsson playing the ball out towards the far side, and kept in brilliantly by Seamus Coleman. Now Walcott has it, plays the ball in towards Sigurdsson, round the corner. This is good football. Here's Coleman now, chips the ball back, and well taken by Tom Heaton. Great positioning for the goalkeeper, who's probably been Burnley's best performer, along with James Tarkowski, who no one else really deserves an honourable mention than just those two, because the rest of them, maybe Ashley Barnes as well, but the rest of them have not performed to the levels that we're expected of them this second half of the season. Foul by Luckman, 3 kick to the Clarets, and the time he's having away on their away season, which is going to end in defeat. And it means now they'll have to pick themselves up and finish really strongly a week on Sunday against Arsenal. They have a midweek fixture, so the extra rest could actually help Burnley in a way for that game, as Henrik hits a speculative 25-yard shot towards goal. That's just to the right of the D, which hit the defender. Now Walcott has possession deep inside Burnley territory, but he gives the ball straight back to Henrik, and then plays a senseless ball back to Lawton when he should have just turned on his heel and then just hooked it forward. Here's McNeil battling there over on the left hand side, but he just can't shake off 2 Everton opponents, and that's really been the real disappointment. And Chris, as I said, they have lacked a competitive edge. It reminds me of the back end of last season. Yes, I was saying earlier, Chris, that it reminds me, it's a mirror image of what happened at the Emirates in the penultimate game of last season, where we just checked it in and gave Arsenal 5 easy goals. We've given Everton just the 2 easy goals tonight, but they could have had so much more. If you look at the shots at goal ratio and you look at the statistics, they've been good value for their 2-0 lead. Lookman has been fouled by Lawton, stupidly so by Matt Lawton, and definite free kick there to Everton. But no, I mean, if you take out the injustices of the refereeing, the yellow cards that shouldn't have been, but still it's been a good performance. As Lookman plays the ball into the area, and it's easy for Tom Heaton. He was looking for Sigurdsson inside the 6-yard area, but the Iceland international could not be found. Had a better night than his colleague playing for Burnley tonight, Johan Berg, who's been taken off. But at the moment, Burnley just haven't been at the races tonight. They've not had many off days. But here's Calvert-Lewin through the centre. Tarkowski to meet him. Ben Mee backs off again. That's horrible defending. And luckily for Ben Mee, Calvert-Lewin hit a tame right-footed shot, which Tom Heaton fielded no problem. But Ben Mee's had a stinker tonight. For me, it's just been horrendously poor. There are times where he does good by blocking shots, and there's times where he doesn't do himself any favours by trying to block shots, and tonight was one of those latter ones. Burnley looking a well-beaten side now, just can't get anything. They should have had a clear penalty about 15 minutes ago, but the referee, for one reason or another, they decided not to give the penalty. It has, but that's the way it happens for the wrong end. But with VAR coming in, I would now presume that all will be changed there. 7:45 kickoff is the time for the big game up at St James's between Newcastle and Liverpool. What a game that promises to be. Here's Ademola Lookman on halfway, feeds the ever-whirling Gylfi Sigurdsson. Calvert-Lewin is trying to stay on side, and so too is Theo Walcott. Coleman's first cross was charged down. He's kept it in play to his enormous credit. Finds Theo Walcott into Sigurdsson. Back to Walcott on the edge of the area. Walcott takes them on. Lookman now on the edge of the area. Will he get a right shot on, or will he get it onto that left foot? He's trying to line up a shot, and he has done, and he's hit a terrific effort with his left foot, which needed saving from Tom Heaton to turn it over the palm and into the park stand and behind for a goal kick. And he gets a good round of applause, Ademola Lookman, from the Everton supporters there, because he was probing and probing. He went one way, went the other, got his shot off. It was on target, and Tom Heaton had to flick that over the crossbar with his dab it away. In fact, it wasn't. Well, it should have. Well, in fact, it's not. It's a goal kick. In fact, it hit the bar. Probably done Tom Heaton too much of a service there, because I thought he saved it initially from my vantage point, but looking at a replay of it from a different angle, it does flick off the crossbar. Anyway, Everton on the break again with Calvert-Lewin, and Ben Mee's second favourite again, and he's absolutely messed it up, but then recovers. Shame he didn't do that in the first half, quite frankly. Everton corner, and we've got just 2 minutes to play, and it looks as if Lucas Digne is going to be our man in the match. We'll have that confirmed properly at 90 minutes. Who would you be? I just want to see what Chris. You've got about 2 minutes to get your man of the match in. Name of the player. Hashtag it with JBMLTM, and then the vote will be validated. You've got just over 1 minute 20 to get your comments in. So, Chris, if you're struggling for a man of the match, choose one now and hashtag it with JBMLTM. If it is Lucas Digne that comes up, then he wins the vote anyway. If it's anyone else, it'll go to me to have the casting vote. At the moment, it's still 2-0 to Everton. We'll announce man of the match in the 90th minute. Here's Michael Keane, looking to put the seal on it against his former club. But here's Matty Vydra now. A bit isolated, but he's found Wood in the penalty area. Michael Keane and Kurt Zouma are there with him. And here's Jeff Henrick, who scored the winning goal here last season in the corresponding fixture. Won't be happening this season. But it's been a chastening evening for Burnley. Tough old Friday night, that's for sure, as Burnley look to try and finish with a little bit of positivity. Westwood has fairly won the ball, which makes a change. The referee's letting it go. Shame it's happening after 89 minutes and we're starting to get one or two fair decisions. But meanwhile, Westwood now just hooks the ball around the corner, finds Jack Cork. Cork does really well, middle of the park, just knock the ball forward. And the flag has stayed down here. Opportunity now for a cross in from the penalty area into Henrik. His first touch was a little bit poor. He had to kill it, and he couldn't just attempt that. 90 minutes has been gone. We'll announce man of the match in a second as that attack peters out from Dwight McNeil. The Garners have won by 3-0. Oscar has just scored the third goal. And the voting is now closed. We've got 3 minutes of stoppage time. I can announce that Lucas Digne is our JB man of the match. Congratulations to him. As we're going to see Phil Jagielka, who's been around the game now since the year 0, quite honestly. He replaces Sigurdsson, so Everton making a change. He'll be pleased. One of his former clubs are back in the Premier League for next season. Sheffield United back in the top flight for the first time in 12 years. All credit to Chris Wilder, as I said earlier on in the show. And the Everton fans giving him a good standing ovation here at Goodison Park. And Sigurdsson's played really well. On another day he could have got the JB award, but we have to go on how many votes that are cast, and Lucas Digne got the vote that counted. As it turned out, Russ Burnley, not for the first time this season, has had casting votes in most of our matches. Quite simply. But here's a chance now for Everton to make it safe with Walcott. It still might come for Lookman, who shoots on the follow-up but hits it straight into the arms of Tom Heaton. And how Burnley have not been murdered by more than 2 tonight will be one of life's great mysteries. They should be very thankful that it's remained at 2-0, and Everton have been quite inaccurate with their shooting really in the second half. But it could have been a cricket score tonight. Burnley have not performed, and it's been a total insult to the fans. And I hope Sean Dyche in his post-match interview afterwards apologises for the performance and offers the Burnley fans that have travelled here on a Friday night a full refund. Because this is, if you pay good money and then you travel on a Friday night, sometimes people finish work very late. You've got to go through rush hours on motorways, which I'm sure they have done on the M62, to get to Merseyside on a Friday night, which is stupid. I think playing Friday night football anytime at night on a Friday night is ridiculous, unless it's a local derby. It should be no more than a 20-mile radius. I think they should abandon Premier League football on a Friday night and just keep it as it used to be. I'd rather have 3 matches played on a Sunday than a match on a Friday night. That's how I feel about the Friday night stuff in the Premier League. Football League, they've been doing it for years. That's fair enough, but maybe it's time to scrap Friday night football in the Premier League. Everton have been wasteful, but so have Burnley. Just haven't hacked any cohesion. We've played the 3 minutes at the end. It's been a night to forget for Burnley. Been slaughtered in every single department. They'll have a late 3 kick here, the Clarets. The game gone. There's no point now. The game is all over. Crazy Pizza Gaming says hello. And Ben Mee and Tarkovsky going forward. There's not much point really now. The game's done. Here comes to Lowton, and there will be the whistle surely. 30 seconds over the 3, and the referee blows his whistle to his mouth, ends the match. A terrific victory for Everton and to Marco Silva. Very good value for their 2-0 win. There's no doubt about it. Could have been 4 or 5 on another day. Goals in the first half from Ben Mee, an own goal after 17. Coleman 3 minutes later. Burnley stay 15th. Everton move to 8th now with 53 points. Burnley stay 13 points behind on 40. But really a dreadful, disappointing display from the Clarets, who really possibly didn't deserve anything from the game over the course of it really, but that's the way it goes sometimes, unfortunately. But having said all that, a great result for Everton. Now the pressure's back on the likes of Watford and Wolves, who've got big games coming up. Watford have got to go to Chelsea, which is going to be so mighty tough on Sunday. Tomorrow evening there's a big top of the table clash between Liverpool and Newcastle. Newcastle are actually in very good form, so this is a potential banana skin for Liverpool. Lose this and any hope of winning the league title will have gone. They can't be afford to make any mistakes like they did in Barcelona, but a terrific win there for Everton. Very much deserving of their 2-0 victory. and if Chris is about, hopefully we'll be able to get him on the line and get his assessment of what's been a dour performance, if we can, before around about 10 o'clock. If we could get some opinion, that would be interesting. I'd like to get another voice's angle on things, because, and it'd be nice to see him back on the network as well. But well, what does Sean Dyche say after a performance like that? He also has to take full responsibility of his own actions, really. The substitutions, I think the way he made the substitutions were poor. Again, the third one, could it have been timed a lot sooner than what it was? There is so many questions to be asked, really. But I'm not detracted from Sean Dyche. He's done a terrific job in the second half of the season of galvanising us and getting a strong jaw. But really now, with the way we are, I mean, I think we're quite good in a way that we've played tonight, because now it gives us a good 7 or 8 day rest now before that last game of the season. Everton, Arsenal in that time have to play on Sunday, and they've got to play on Thursday, so they've got 2 games to play before Burnley play again. And also they've got an away trip to the Mestalla on Thursday night, which is going to be very, very tough. And if that was to end 3-1 to Valencia and it goes to extra time, my goodness, the bodies are going to be absolutely shattered before a very tough game against Burnley. Of course, they've got to play Brighton as well on Sunday with a 4 o'clock kick-off at the Emirates Stadium. But well, Burnley really will want to finish with a flourish. They need to do that. They owe the fans something now a week on Sunday at the turf, because they just weren't good enough. Is the overriding emotion of how I'm feeling at the moment, not just as a commentator but as a Burnley fan. The Kentucky Oaks is taking place over in America. I'm reliably informed, and also they've got the Kentucky Derby to come tomorrow. It's like their version of the Epsom Derby, basically, only Americanised and done with all the razzmatazz that all Americans seem to do. But I think really it's been a disappointing night. Very, very annoying from a Burnley point of view. I feel sorry for the Burnley fans that have turned up. The stadium is emptied. We've had the incident with the crowd, with the Burnley fans tonight. We don't know what's gone on, to be quite honest with you. It's I've been concentrating on the game. Let's read 1 or 2 comments before we leave you tonight. Before we leave you tonight, obviously we're going to knock on Clarets turf. There's the turf ball oil as well. I wouldn't say, a lot of people saying it was a better second half performance. It was, but the first half was what cost us today. We're just trying to get some comments from some Burnley supporters, and hopefully we'll hear some comments and try and get across. So we've got 5 comments here. Burnley Express, we'll read their Facebook comments page and just look at them. Well, that was poor. That's turned from a swear word. Another one says, well, we've played worse this season, played well enough. I wouldn't agree with that, to be fair, over the course of 90 minutes, if you look at the statistics. Sloppy passing has left us down, though, and I agree with that. Would like to see the back of players, namely Wood, Brady and Henrik this summer, though. They are talented enough, but too lackadaisical to be truly consistently effective. Well, that's one Claret view. Let's check on 2 or 3 others before Howard Wood got his goals this season, beggars belief. He's definitely got to go. Crouchy would have done a better job if he's not half-side. No idea where his feet is. Sell him to Blackburn Rovers. Well, that's a bit strong, really. Karen Singleton says, better than the 5-0 thrashing I expected. Maybe so, but we were still out-fought. Karen. And if it's not broke, don't change it. Brady. Well, there we go. We've got Chris Whiteman on the line. We'll pick him up in a second, and we'll get his assessment on things in just a second or two. So we're just going to pop on now, and hopefully we'll hear from him in just a second or two. Yes, you're going to see him for the first time on this network for a long time. May I welcome back and give him the big build-up here. May I reintroduce, in just a second or two, we'll get Chris on in a second. We're just checking everything is up to date with the audio devices and stuff. And the art. So let me welcome back for the first time in a long while. He's been off our network for a long time, but he's back tonight. Chris Whiteman, welcome back. Welcome home.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it wasn't the best game today, was it? It was pretty poor, pretty deck cherry, pretty lack of competitive edge at all. I mean, I look at the stats and it just says it all. Really, we had only one shot on target all game, which the last sort of few games it's felt like that. Last week it was Man City and we only got one shot off there. We've sort of gone off the boil a little bit because that point at Stamford Bridge has just kind of killed it off. But yeah, it's a bit disappointing. But as I said, we're safe, which ultimately after the start that we had is all that mattered. And yeah, it's just a case of them going through the motions, which isn't really what you look for when you go into a match like this. You know, no pressure or anything. You'd expect the players to express themselves a bit better, and they didn't. I can't really pick out an individual who was particularly good other than perhaps Tom Heaton, but even then you can sit there and say perhaps he should have parried the shot which Coleman followed in a bit better. But either way, it's not really been the best performance, and Deitch probably should, I wouldn't say apologise for it, but he should certainly keep them in the dressing room for a little bit. But ultimately, if you'd have told me that we'd be safe with 3 games to go, at Christmas time, I probably would have laughed and said, "No, you're silly," because it's it was all going wrong. But we've somehow steadied the ship. We've done enough to stay up, and the game against Arsenal should be an interesting one. Arsenal, of course, as you mentioned, they've got a couple of games beforehand. Obviously, they've got their eye on the Europa League. They don't travel very well, and obviously it's our last home game of the season. We certainly want to perform better in front of basically a sellout. It is pretty much a sellout based on the ticket sales that I've seen, so it should be a good atmosphere again at Turf Moor. But tonight wasn't really good enough as a whole across the board. I mean, although I will say that Chris Kavanagh will look back at that shove by, I think it was Michael Keane, and probably feel a little bit bad. Not too bad though, because the referees don't care about Burnley and giving penalties to them, because we're a little club. It doesn't matter, because we don't bring in the TV money. People don't tune in to see us. They tune in to see Man City and Liverpool have controversy and big teams and all that. So referees don't care about us too much, which goes to our abysmal penalty record. We've only had a couple in a couple of seasons, so it says a lot really. But ultimately tonight wasn't good enough. But I'm not gonna be too broken up about it, because we are safe. And like I said, if you'd have told me that at Christmas, that we'd be safe with a couple of games to go, and I wouldn't have any worries going into the Arsenal game other than family bragging rights, because a lot of my family are Arsenal fans, then I would have bitten your hand off. So that's my verdict tonight.
Yeah, I totally concur with that, Chris. I think, but next season it's going to be really different from, as you said, the penalties and the little old Burnley don't get them and all that sort of thing. But with VAR coming into force, I think it can only be a good thing. As regards the video,
the resistance to VAR by the bigger teams just kind of shows as to why it's going to be so good, because these big teams aren't going to get those crucial differences that happen a lot, like Old Trafford, when penalties are given left, right, and when they used to be anyway, were given left, right, and centre for the slightest bit of contact, and I think it will tighten the league up a lot more as well, because simulation will be clamped down on, the penalties will be given correct, and you'll be getting the correct decisions all the time. Well, I say all the time, depends on what the referee's interpretation of the rules are, because we've seen in a few competitions, in particular the PSG game against Manchester United when they got that crucial penalty at the end. You know, what's the interpretation of handball? Do you give a penalty for deliberate handball? Is it classed as accidental? Is it an unnatural body position? So I think going into next season, I think before the season even starts, when it comes to VAR, they're going to have to clarify rules a little bit more, because we can't be having penalties given for a slight brushing in the box, you know, and then the player throws himself to the ground because he felt contact. Or you can't keep giving penalties when your hand is in an actual position. It's going to be, you know, next season is going to be interesting just in the state of how the rules are enforced with VAR, because otherwise we're just going to be having penalties left, right, and centre, and it'll get silly in a way, because some people will consider the penalties unfair. You know, I think back to the penalty when England played, I think it was Germany, when Tarkowski, you know, I think he stepped on a German's foot, and a penalty was given for it because it was contact. It wasn't a deliberate foul or anything. They just happened to both put their foot in the same spot, but the refs interpreted it as a penalty. So we'll see. It will certainly be interesting, and I think if we had VAR enforced now, I think Burnley would probably be in a higher position, that's for sure. But then Cardiff would probably be in a slightly better position, and we may still be in the relegation fight should VAR be enforced, because obviously there was that wonderful linesman officiating against, I can't remember, was it Chelsea or Man City? I can't remember which one, but yeah, it would have changed how the season panned out towards the back end. So it'll be very interesting, to say the least.
Indeed, and I want to get your I mean, we've got about 6 minutes of the programme left, but I want to get your views on what's been a magnificent title race, because Liverpool and Manchester City are flawless. They've been flawless for the last 2 months, as you well know, and I'm sure you've been keeping half an eye on that. But hand on heart now, I've City, I think honestly, if you look at the two games, I don't know how you feel about it. I think Liverpool have got a very tough match tomorrow against Newcastle. Considering they've lost to Barcelona, this is going to be a real toughie for them. That's going to be live on the JB Claret YouTube channel tomorrow, incidentally, at 7:45. But Liverpool have to go there and get a result. But you'd have to say now at this stage of the title race that it's advantage Manchester City, considering that they've been, I mean, I've seen them, I thought they were awesome against us last week, by the way, and deserved to win. But you've got to say, I think that you've got to make City favourites. I think you'd have to agree on that, Chris. But Liverpool, I think, need to get a result tomorrow, don't they? Because Newcastle are in really good form at the moment.
Yes, obviously there's quite the plot of ex-Liverpool managers having a say in the title race, but the thing that baffles me really is that we could be in the position come the end of the season where second place has 97 points, and that's a real possibility. The fact that you could end up with 97 points and not win the league is just staggering thoughts. You know, 97 points is enough to win any division on the planet. Anywhere you go, 97 points is enough to win it. But because Man City are just so good, because they've got bucket tons of money, which people have been making a lot of, you know, oh, well, if every club had as much money as Manchester City, it'd all be like that. Yeah, they have invested quite smartly, though. They've not just thrown money at players, they've improved their facilities and everything. But in terms of the title race itself, I mean, personally, I think if Manchester City beat Leicester, that's it. I think Leicester are probably the biggest threat to Manchester City, and it's at the Etihad as well. I mean, they've got Brighton as their last game of the season, league-wise. Obviously, they've got Watford in the FA Cup, which should be fairly straightforward. The relegation fight may be over by then, depending on what happens with Cardiff. So Brighton may have the deck chairs out, or they might just, you know, you don't know. Whereas Liverpool, as much as you say the Newcastle game might be tough, they've got Wolves at Anfield, the last game of the season, which I think is a tougher prospect than Newcastle away, simply because Wolves are in that shout for 7th place as well, so they'll be up for it. And, you know, Liverpool under pressure, we've seen in the past, obviously haven't been able to handle it. So given, I mean, that being the last game of the season for Liverpool, if, say, Manchester City were to slip up, and then Liverpool, say, were in the driving seat going into the Wolves game, I think that would be more of a bigger banana skin than anything else, than the Newcastle game. So it's really hard to say. I mean, for me, like I said, if Manchester City beat Leicester, then I think it's Manchester City's title, because it's just I can't see them not getting anything less than 3 points against Brighton. So it's all about Brendan Rodgers. You know, could he hand Liverpool a title, which he came so close to doing as manager of Liverpool? That's the game for me. But it's been a crazy season in terms of the two teams at the top. But obviously, you're commentating on Everton. Ironically, that is the last league game in which Liverpool didn't get 3 points. The 0-0 draw, I do believe, if I go back and check, was where Liverpool failed to last pick up 3 points. So if you want to look at where the title was won and lost, the 0-0 draw at Goodison Park, where you are tonight, Everton fans will be sitting there quietly giggling to themselves, going, well, if you beat us, you would have won the league, but you didn't. And that's going to be a rather nasty bragging right should Liverpool not win the league. And I'm pretty sure Everton fans will remind the red side all about that. But yeah, that's it. It's been a crazy season, and whoever wins the league will be well deserved of it.
I can't agree with you more. It's a good point you make about Liverpool dropping points here at Goodison Park. Of course, one of the greatest grounds, I think, one of the most traditional football grounds in this country, and it's for atmosphere, it's great. But it is a bit ironic here being sat there, and it's very eerie and empty at the moment. But I think you make a good point about Wolves. They always seem to do well against the big 6 or 7 teams, and Wolves have been playing really well. Very unlucky to lose out. But, I think City will win the league. I think you look at the way they've been playing, Chris, I would say if they beat Leicester, I would say that was it. There's no doubt about that. Whether they win the FA Cup, you never know in a cup final. You never know in a cup final.
If Leicester play... Sorry, if Manchester City play as well as they did it, or should I say, like us, I think Leicester will give them a problem, because as much as Manchester City were pretty dominant, they only just got a 1-0 victory, and Leicester City are a much better side than us. So I know it's at the Etihad, but if Leicester, get up for it, Jamie Vardy has a habit of, having quite a good old party. I think that is the game which will define the where the Premier League goes. And obviously, if Leicester do that, then all eyes will be on that Liverpool-Wolves game.
Yeah, well, whatever it will be, it's going to be an absolute fascinating end to the finish, fight to the finish, and then there's the 4 spots as well. Nobody wants to win it. And just quickly, your views on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Do you think he needs to be given a transfer window this summer? Because a lot of people have been saying there's been a lot of rumours playing about, and I think they're false rumours, by the way, that he needs to go. I honestly think he needs a transfer window. I honestly think there's certain players, and I've made my feelings strongly on other YouTube videos about the likes of Pogba, Sanchez. I honestly think they're holding United back. What do you think United need to do to get anywhere close to even getting into the top 4, let alone even having a chance of winning the league again? Because if you've got, they look to me, I don't know how you feel about it watching them or been watching them in recent weeks if you have, but they look to me as if they're a team of individuals. Pogba's looked off the pace. There's a lot of controversy whether he should be in the PFA Team of the Year. I think that's when you've got more deserved. Yes.
I mean, when you start with Man United, it's when Solskjaer initially came back, it was like the old Manchester United to come back, and I personally think it was a mistake not to give. I think Solskjaer deserved the job full time, absolutely, but I think to announce it before the end of the season was an error, because if it were me, because they were playing out their skin to get him the job. So for me, I would have left that carrot dangling until the end of the season, because now he's got the job permanently, and literally the moment he's got it permanently, they've fallen off. And there are individuals. I mean, I find it baffling that there's talks about David De Gea being dropped, although Solskjaer has said he will keep his place. The audacity of the idea of dropping David De Gea. The guy has kept them afloat and a relevant team in the top 6 single-handedly for the last 5 years. The last standing player of the Ferguson era, the last piece that Ferguson essentially brought in that has been a constant and kept the club afloat, essentially. Because if they'd have dropped out the top 7, hell, who knows what the hell would have happened? But they would have. You know, they would play. Without him, they would have been so far down. But there are players, Sanchez. I mean, there's talks of them trying to get rid of him and paying 50% of his wages to encourage another team to come in for him. But even then, you're still looking at trying to offload him at 250k a week, which for a player the wrong side of 30 is not really going to happen unless it's PSG or something. But Sanchez has just been a total waste of space. Paul Pogba is a social media diva and is not. There's a reason Sir Alex Ferguson sold him all those years ago, and it's because he doesn't have that quality that players who are stars at Manchester United have normally. You know, there's a reason Paul Scholes was able to walk back into that team instead of Paul Pogba being put in front of it, because Pogba just feels like he's entitled. You know, oh, I'm too good to be dropped and whatever, and he can just do whatever he wants. But for him to be included in the PFA Team of the Year was a joke. Honestly, I thought it was. I don't know who decided that. I mean, apparently whether people voted for him, but do you seriously think that he deserves his place better than Eden Hazard? I mean, come on, Eden Hazard. I know he's sort of been a bit hot and cold, but he's single-handedly dragging Chelsea into the top 4 fight when they should be dead and buried. So, you know, players like him, obviously, they haven't been pulling their weight. I think Solskjaer has been doing a reasonably good job, and the idea that somebody would want to get rid of him before he's even been given a transfer window to solve the issues that are at that club is just silly. You know, they need a good clear out of some of the dead weight and some of the players who clearly aren't there for the right reasons. So money and, you know, their social image, because I feel like that's what Paul Pogba's gone back for. You know, at Juventus he was in a different place, and the mentality there was different, and they wouldn't tolerate that. And he's come back to Manchester United, and he's just taken the foot off. But yeah, he needs a transfer window or two. To be honest, I think Solskjaer's in a wonderful position, because the fans will never get on his back, if I'm honest, because he's an icon for Manchester United, and I think he will. Should he have got the job in the first place is a question, you know, to be asked, because given his record, you know, obviously the previous Premier League job he had was Cardiff, and they went down. You know, his managerial CV wasn't exactly impressive, and if he wasn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he would not have got that job based on his current CV, which is why some people think it's quite a bit of a gamble. But I think the best appointment they did was get Mike Phelan in as his assistant manager. I think that is the real secret to the success to begin with, because obviously he used to work with Sir Alex Ferguson. He knows how to get it going and everything, and obviously Solskjaer's got that ex-player mentality, so he'll know how to get everyone rolled up. But it's a bit of a mess, Manchester United, and I think for me there's a big clear out coming in the summer. They have to keep David De Gea. I think they would have been very stupid to drop him, because if they dropped him he would have left, because you can't just, like I said, he's carried their club for 5 years, and if you drop him after a couple of mistakes, which everyone is prone to, I mean, heck, look at Joe Hart, for God's sake, that guy's got a mistake in him every game. But you know, anyone can make a mistake, and the fact that it's happened now, whilst Manchester United are sort of in this odd phase of not really knowing where they should be, it would be silly. And De Gea is crucial for them going forward. So there's a lot of dead weight that needs to be cleared out. Defensively, they need to be improved. Attacking wise, there's a lot of talk about Romelu Lukaku potentially leaving, because he's looked unfit this season. To be honest, there are times where you just look at him and you go, really, is that what you? So it'll be interesting to see what they do. They've got a good young core of players in there, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I'm sure, will love to develop some young talent. But there needs to be a little bit of investment defensively, and attacking wise, I think they're missing that world-class striker, perhaps, because they thought they had it in Lukaku, but that hasn't quite happened. But maybe Martial and Rashford will blossom a bit more into that next season. We'll see. But changes are afoot at Manchester United. But I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should at least be given, at least next season, bare minimum, But personally, I think Solskjaer's there for the long haul because he'll have the fan backing and he'll be very popular in that regard. And the best thing about this downturn in form is it's not just been for Solskjaer. It happened to Mourinho. It happened before as well. And the fans are turning on the players now because they won't turn on Solskjaer. Solskjaer is a god to them. So the blame will fall squarely at the feet of the players, and sometimes it will fall at the board members as well. I know a lot of people don't like Ed Woodward. Personally, I think he's done a very good job at Manchester United, particularly with some transfer business has been all right, such as the broken fax machine, which stopped David De Gea leaving. But yeah, it's certainly the Manchester United fans certainly know where they're going to point the finger, and it's not going to be at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
I can't get over that fax machine joke. But yeah, I agree. And I mean, next, I think this summer is going to be interesting. I mean, we've still got a game. We've still got a round of games in the Premier League, and then we've got the playoffs. Just finally, I mean, just to remind you, we're still on the air. You've heard commentary. Burnley have lost 2-0, but we've had an extra bonus. Chris has joined us, and we've had a half hour's nostalgia with an LTF, sort of speak, thrown in for good measure. But last subject on the night now, Chris, and we're going to drop into the Championship, where the race for the playoffs is getting even more getting even more the plot thicker. We've already got Norwich and Sheffield United in the Premier League, and they're going to be welcome additions, I believe, to the Premier League next season. I think they're two great clubs that deserve their shot next season. Leeds, there was controversy in the Leeds Villa game as well. We'll touch on that as well. Well, I'd like to get your view on that. I've already given my view already in the programme. We know how Russ feels about it, but just quickly, the race for the 6th place, this is going to be interesting. We were talking about this off air last night, that there's 3 clubs in there, Middlesbrough, Derby County, who had a chance on Wednesday, didn't take their chance. They drew the other night, and Bristol City, who've had a terrific season. I was lucky to commentate. Okay, they lost in the FA Cup against Wolves, but the performance they put up on that afternoon convinced me that they're going to be a top side 6, if not this season, definitely next season, because I think Lee Johnson's got a good nucleus there. How do you think that last spot will play out? Because that last day will play out, because it's going to be so interesting now. With every other issue decided, it's that 6th spot now that's going to be the focus of attention. Who do you believe will get that 6th spot based on what you think you've seen on this season? Because Derby have a chance, Middlesbrough have a chance, Bristol City have an outside chance. Who do you think will get 6th place, and who do you think realistically could win the playoffs, objectively speaking?
Well, I just want to touch on Sheffield United quickly before that. I know this might not be nice for Russ, but I think that Sheffield United's return to the Premier League is long overdue. Ironically, 10 years ago, it will be on the 25th of May, will be when we played them in the playoff final, where they missed. That was their last attempt to get to the Premier League, their last near miss. But they never should have been relegated from the Premier League in the first place. Obviously, we'll talk about the whole, ironically, the West Ham scenario another time. But given what happened to Sheffield United after that playoff final, it kind of all fell apart. They got relegated to League One. You know, it was a bit of a mess. But for someone like Billy Sharp, you know, given his footballing journey as well, for him to get the opportunity to play in the Premier League with his boyhood club, it's a kind of good, it's a good little story there. But I think Sheffield United, they never should have really. We shouldn't be talking about Sheffield United in the first place having to get promoted back to the Premier League, because quite frankly they still should be there. And after what happened with Mascherano and Tevez scenario, but it's good that they've got the opportunity, and West Ham Sheffield United will certainly be a very interesting fixture next season. But I'm happy for Sheffield United for them to get back up. Norwich were deserving champions in the end. They played reasonably well, and for Leeds it's not over, but they sort of doomed their own automatic promotion stuff with just not playing well at the crucial moments. And you know, the playoffs is not a bad place to be. You know, if you win it, you get a trip to Wembley and you get to lift a trophy at Wembley, which is a good experience. I can vouch for that firsthand. But in terms of 6th place, I mean, the team that probably deserves to be there the most is Derby, although they are kind of tripping over their own shoelaces to get there. It's going to be very tight. Middlesbrough, they've had an okay-ish season playing Tony Pulis football, but whether they don't exactly play the most attractive football for me. But this is coming from a Burnley fan. But they're in with a shout. Who do they play? They play Rotherham away as their last fixture of the season. So theirs is kind of a given 3 points, you would think. And then Bristol City, they have Hull away, which will be tough ask considering Hull are mid-table. And as for Derby, they've got West Brom, which could be their playoff opponents, unless, of course, well, the West Brom won't be their Derby opponents. Sorry, the West Brom won't be their opponents in the playoffs. If Leeds lose, West Brom beat Derby, and Middlesbrough and Bristol City both lose, then they won't play each other in the playoffs unless they reach the final. I think is how that's going to work, because I think third play fifth and fourth play sixth. Or it might be the other way around, not sure. But that'll be an interesting game in itself. A tough one for Derby as well, because obviously West Brom, they're already guaranteed a playoff spot. So whether they take the foot off the gas or they look at this as an opportunity to perhaps knock Derby out of the playoffs before it even begins for an easier opponent in Middlesbrough and Bristol City, it's an interesting subplot. But in terms of who's going to finish sixth, I would probably put it on Derby, because I get the feeling Frank Lampard will probably get the best out of them for the big occasion, and Frank Lampard knows a thing or two about big occasions. So that would be my pick. But it wouldn't surprise me if Middlesbrough snuck in because they've got Rotherham. And then, of course, when it comes to who's going to emerge out of the playoffs, well, it's a tough one. Obviously, Aston Villa will be looking to finally get back, because they've been away from the Premier League for a few seasons. West Brom have a tendency to bounce. You could have a Midlands derby as a well, yeah, there's three Midlands teams in there at present, so you could have a Midlands derby as the final. Leeds, I don't know how they'll do in the playoffs. I don't think they've been involved in the playoffs for a while. Not that I can remember off of memory. I'm sure Russ will correct me, but I think they've always got promoted automatically. Well, at least from League One they got promoted automatically. I don't recall what their playoff record is like off the top of my head. But obviously, when you miss out on automatic promotion, as shown with, ironically, 10 years ago with Sheffield United, they were so close to automatic, but they finished third, slipped into the playoffs, and then they got to the playoff final but missed out, because it's that pressure of the fact that you sort of feel like you've got to win the playoffs because you were so close to automatic promotion. And whether that pressure will get to Leeds United, because they had it in their hands for automatic promotion and they threw that away. So we'll see how the playoffs goes. I mean, for me, to be honest, I was expecting Sheffield United to be in the playoffs a few weeks ago, but the way things went, I was backing West Brom to be the team to go back up, simply because it's West Brom. They're the yo-yo club traditionally. They've been in the Premier League for a long time. It's their first time coming out of it. They might bounce back straight away, but that would have been my pick. And I think I don't like to twist on my predictions too much, so I don't mean to annoy Russ, but I reckon. I mean, it's probably be a West Brom Leeds final, unless of course they play each other in the semi-final. I forget how the playoff format works, but that would probably be the best quality final. And then obviously it's who rises to the occasion best. But my pick earlier on in the season was West Bromwich Albion to go up via the playoffs anyway, because I didn't really see them getting top two. And I'm gonna stick with that. I was expecting Leeds to get automatic promotion, Russ, so don't shoot me. It's just I can't twist with West Brom. I'm afraid that's what I'm going to stick with. Although, like I said, the teams in there: Leeds, West Brom, Aston Villa, Derby, potentially Middlesbrough, Bristol City popping in there. Though all of them, ex-Premier League teams. Leeds obviously have that ridiculously good history at the top end of the English game. Aston Villa have a couple of have a European Championship to their name. West Brom, regularly bouncing to and from the Premier League, and Derby have good history, obviously, with a certain Mr. Clough. So it's it's really hard to pick, but like I said, I don't like to shirk from my early picks, and I had West Brom down as the playoff winner, so that's what I'm gonna stick with. And of course, J-Rod plays for them, so I'd always pull for him a little bit as well. But yeah, that's my pick for the playoffs.
Well, I'm going to go with the home team, Villa. But I think, let me just tell you the dates and for the championship ones, and I'll give you the full artillery for the finals. First of all, the 11th of May, Aston Villa will probably play West Brom in the first semi-final at 12:30 at Villa Park. Then later that day, it's going to be neither Bristol City, Middlesbrough or Derby play Leeds United at 5:15. Then the second legs commence with on Tuesday, West Brom are at home to Villa in the second leg. That's a 7:45 kick-off on Tuesday, May the 14th. Then the next evening, it's Leeds at Ellen Road against whoever gets into 6th place. And the 3 divisional playoff finals take place on the weekend of the 25th to the 27th. The League 2 playoff final starts first at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the Saturday, May the 26th, and then the next day on the 26th we have the League 1 final, and then the Championship playoff final. The richest prize, no doubt about it, in football is back to its old date on Bank Holiday Monday. It was Saturday last year because we had that double header, of course. Chris commentated on that Championship final, which Fulham won. We'll find out on the 27th of May who will get that promotion, that final spot. Should be an absolute cracker. And then, of course, we have the FA Cup final before all that, and also we have the European Cup final after that as well. So plenty of end of season football, plenty of issues to be decided, and it's going to be an interesting end to the season now, isn't it, Chris? Very quickly.
Well, yeah, we got the title race in the Premier League. The relegation battle could potentially go to the last day. Obviously the playoffs, and then we've got that little thing in the international side of things with the I think it's I forget what it's called now, that European tournament that we'll be going into. Although I forget what it's called now. National League or something like that, isn't it?
The Nations Cup. Nations League. That's the one I'm looking for. National League's flipping non-league football, which is something I'll be touching on late next season. But yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting. I'll be obviously paying attention to all the playoffs across all 3 of the football leagues, and obviously the non-league playoffs I think kick off this weekend as well, which will be interesting to see who pops back into the full-time professional football league. So that'll be certain. And I want to just point out that League 1 is an absolute car crash when it comes to staying up because there's so many teams. You go down to 23rd, Scunthorpe on 46 points with a game to go. Then anyone up to, so you've got 2 teams, Walsall and Scunthorpe, both on 46 points, both in the relegation zone in 22nd and 23rd. So anyone up to 19th, being Wimbledon, could go down with them. Plymouth, however, in 21st are on 47 points. So Wickham are also in that relegation fight. So there's 6 teams scrapping it out to stay in League 1. At one point, I remember it was a few weeks ago, where literally anybody up to 12th at one point were all in danger of going down with only a couple of weeks left. So it's kind of dissipated a little bit, but League 1 is looking a pretty crazy scenario. And Peterborough and Doncaster are fighting over the last playoff spot for League 1, so that'll be interesting to see as well. And then League 2, obviously we know about who the champions are. Brian Jensen was tweeting a lot about their automatic promotion celebrations. The former Burnley goalkeeper is part of the coaching setup there, and he was having a word of a time there. But the playoff situation going into League 2 as well. It's 7th place, which is the last playoff spot, currently occupied by Newport. There are 5 teams vying for that spot. You've got Newport on 70 points, and then Stevenage in 11th are on 67. So if they win their final game, they need the results need to go in their favour. But you've got Newport, Exeter, Colchester, Carlisle and Stevenage all vying for one playoff spot there. And obviously we'll talk about the Sol Campbell appointments with Macclesfield fighting relegation. They're currently sitting in 22nd place, one place above the relegation zone.
2 points clear of Notts County, so whether he can pull off Macclesfield great escape considering how far adrift they were in the first place, he's done a cracking job. So there's a lot going on in the world of football going into the final week of the league season. Then obviously all the playoffs start, which will be even more exciting. And I don't know if I can get the National League up, because it's the playoffs I think are beginning for them anyway, so I don't think anything will change in that scenario. But yeah, it's been a cracking season, I've got to say. I've been sort of in and out with the football scene at the top myself, but it has been exciting nonetheless. So what a season it's been. Could have been better from a Burnley perspective, but I'm not going to complain. We're still in the Premier League, and that's all that matters, really. So yeah, certainly a lot of excitement ahead, and obviously the international scene will be kicking off in the summer as well, which will be very interesting to see how England do in a competitive tournament that isn't a World Cup or the Euros.
Yes, and also it's been fantastic to have you on, and a nice surprise for everybody that's listened tonight, because everyone's been asking how you are, so many messages and that. So it's great to have you back on our channel, and hopefully we'll have you in the next few weeks whenever you can, carrying commentaries of some crucial games to come and things like that. So it's been nice, and it's been absolutely, it's been like old times again, reviving sort of an LTF, but not in a visual sense, but a sort of a podcast. It's been fantastic to have you back, Chris. It's been a pleasure having you on for the last half an hour, and thank you very much and welcome back to the bosom of our family. That's all I'll say to that. But thank you very much for your contribution tonight. But not been a great night for Burnley, I'm afraid, listeners, limping to a 2-0 defeat. But the point is, I think we can allow them one back game. They might just come back against Arsenal and shock the world and science and beat them, but you never know. But the point is, Everton were good, they were terrific, but Burnley have stayed up, and they actually now playing the top flight for the 4th successive year. And that last time that happened was 1970-71 season. And hopefully they won't get hopefully we'll go to a 5th one by this time next season. But thank you very much to everyone that's listened. Thank you to all the contributors, and obviously to Russ and to Crazy Pizza Gaming and one or two others. Of course, big thanks to Chris there for the last half an hour discussing and chewing the fat like we used to do every Thursday night. It's been like old times again, and yeah, it's been fantastic. Not the result that Burnley wanted, but nonetheless we're staying up. But Everton, they've got a chance now, a 7th spot. They are in terrific form. We'll see you tomorrow for the big game at St James's between Newcastle and Liverpool. But from me, JB, here at Goodison Park, and from Chris down in London, take care, and we'll see you soon. Ta-ra now.